So one, I said, so many people on TikTok threads on here, all owned by pro-Israel, pro-MAGA billionaires, think they're liberal or woke or whatever and absolutely get duped and repeat talking points designed by the right to constantly hit their left flank. I think the country is going to go more right-wing unless we get more diligent about this, right? And then this guy says, insane levels of mental rape. It's like, dude, you use terms like mental rape. I don't want to fucking hear from you, okay? Like, I'm sorry. Anyway, here's the blast off. But as far as personal news goes, I've been tweeting a lot. I've been threading even because, like, I have been looking into, I've been monitoring the situation on these social media applications, all of which are owned by right-wing weirdos, okay? Yeah, Unk is on threads. It's true. Not me seeing Hasan clapping back at people on threads now. Oh, he's fed up with you guys spreading misinformation and lies on him? Yes, 100%. So the reason why I did that is because threads is owned by Mark Zuckerberg, who obviously is, you know, I mean, that's the Instagram, Twitter equivalent, who also is pro-MAGA, right? And very pro-Israel. Elon Musk is pro-MAGA and pro-Israel. He owns Twitter. And TikTok is now owned by the Ellisons, which is also pro-MAGA and pro-Israel. Why am I talking about this? Am I talking about this specifically because this is going to be yet another broadcast where I talk about, oh my God, people are attacking me. That sucks. No, that's not the reason. The reason why I'm talking about this is because I watched this TikTok last night and it fried my brain. And it didn't fry my brain. It rather zapped me back into consciousness where something clicked. This content creator perfectly demonstrates what I've been feeling, what I've been thinking, what they've been doing. And I think it dovetails into a broader issue with like Drew Afuelo, I believe. I'm not entirely certain as to what that drama is. I think it has something to do with trans women and cis women. I'm not familiar. I haven't seen it. I haven't really been on TikTok other than just like reposting random clips, right? So this TikTok perfectly demonstrates what is going on.
Have become so conservative and you don't even know it. Like, you're not even aware of the fact that you're spouting conservative talking points, you're spouting conservative propaganda, you're interacting with conservative creators, you're interacting with conservative run smear campaigns against other creators. Like, I feel like I've fallen into an alternate timeline where everybody just stopped thinking. You all just stopped thinking. Well, maybe Jules LeBron should have handled her money better. Okay, I still think she deserves to ask for help. I still think there's literally nothing morally wrong with coming online and asking for help with medical bills. Do you think there is? Well, yeah, because she's asking her minimum wage her fans that work minimum wage job. Yeah, that's how crowdfunding works. You donate $1 or you don't, and you scroll and you don't have to donate anything. Nobody's holding a gun to your head. Like, Drew Afuelo said on a podcast that, yeah, that's a clip that was posted by a conservative podcast from a year ago. It's a targeted smear campaign, and you all fell for it. You're all falling for it. Oh my God. Well, Nara Smith isn't actually a trad wife, and like she's actually not a trad, and she was never a trad wife because she always was making her money. Okay, yeah, it's propaganda. And then you guys are literally doing the work for them, and then you want to claim to be left. You want to claim to be left leaning. You want to claim that you're anti-MAGA and anti-Trump and whatever, and then you think the same things that they think.
I have no idea what this lady is talking about. Okay, listen, you don't even have to know what she's talking about to completely understand the underlying concept. The concept that she's addressing is this newfound phenomena amongst people, especially Gen Z, that get their notes online, who don't realize that they're actually being duped into taking conservative positions. Okay? A lot of people get flamed or agitated through clip culture by conservatives and very right-wing algorithms owned by Zionist pro-MAGA billionaires who I think are deliberately doing this, okay, into taking reactionary positions without realizing it. There are a lot of people who are self-identifying like liberals, self-identifying wokes, self-identifying leftists, who end up getting manipulated into doing the bidding of the right wing. Okay. And I don't think this is like a far-fetched conspiracy at all. Now, you might say, oh, dude, who cares about Drew Affuello, or who cares about this person, that person? These are all content creators. Here's the thing. It extends far beyond that. And if you're in this community, if you're in my community, especially for a long enough time, you've already seen exactly how this has happened. There are so many people on the quote unquote, like broader liberal spectrum, self-identifying liberals, apoliticals, people who are like kind of woke, people who don't with Trump, who just have this revulsion towards everything that this community demonstrates, everything that this community stands for. Where did that come from? It came from a lot of slop tubers and a lot of apolitical content creators for the last couple of years actively putting the beat on anything that I represent as being like a manifestation of woke. Okay? People, without realizing, assume right-wing positions. People, without realizing, assume, what is this? Okay, whatever. That's fine. That's, who gives about that? No, but like, people without realizing take contradictory positions that are antagonistic to their broader worldview, especially when they're like very open-minded to certain concepts, certain socially progressive concepts, and they end up taking like a very reactionary stance, and I think that slowly but surely feeds into young Gen Z people, apolitical people becoming dumbass chuds. Okay? And it's somewhat of a terrifying predicament. That's what I'm actually worried about. I'm very worried about it because I'm worried that this happens in the T space as well. This happens in the fandoms as well. Snark is another great example of this. Like, there are so many different avenues where people end up falling victim to reactionary propaganda, reactionary points of view, even if they themselves are like, even if they are personally not chuds, right? They're woke, broadly speaking, but they constantly repeat.
You might have seen my recent interview with the
This is Alluring Skull's take on this. Christian, is that what it is?
Hi,
I'm Jory, and I'm here with
Abdul Al-Sayed, running for U.S. Senate.
I was in Michigan for the Democratic primaries, campaigning for progressives like Will Lawrence, Donovan McKinney, and Abdul Al-Sayed. And much like I was in Michigan, today I am in Florida doing the same for the progressives that are here. We have Oliver Larkin, Angie Nixon, and Elijah Manley, all of which are trying to flip Florida blue. They're ready to fight for access to healthcare, housing, and better wages. But
the fuck's this video, Christian? What? Are you here? You're not. What is this video? This video has nothing to do with the topic at hand.
Times that I've been asked to weigh in on the Drew Affuello situation, and to be very candid, what I'm focused on isn't a.
Oh, this is the Drew Affuello situation. Okay. I'm not entirely tapped in on the Drew Affuello situation, so I haven't even made up my mind on it at all. I don't know anything about it. Is this going to be a fair shake? Is this going to be explaining the drama, Christian? Just watch. She has the correct take. Yeah. Christian is trying to become top. Do you guys see what he's doing? Y'all see what he's doing? He's literally trying to be top gay. He got. Oh, you're decentering men. Okay. Yeah. He's now doing production work out here. That's crazy. Damn, Kornacki got to him. Yeah. You see, Steve Kornacki's gay. He went up in the ranks. Okay. He's processing it. He's coming to terms with it. He said he's decentering men. Why are all your gays research assistants? Let Christian dance. That's true. Well, yeah, you guys just see him as a dancer, and there's so much more to him than that. He also, Caroline touched on this too recently. Here, I'll look at what Caroline was talking about too.
Hong, that were not attacks coming from liberal media and from the right, but were attacks coming from the left. I think that there may have been something to do with her being an Asian woman. I'm just going to say that because that is real. That is real. And I'm going to speak on that. And that is the type of shit that people need to.
It definitely feeds into it for sure. It 100% feeds into it, you know? look, these are implicit biases. You can't make like you can't make it the primary fixture of your campaign. You can't make it like the number one issue or anything. What is this? Will Lawrence, GOP is using Michigan lefty in swing district house race, once gushed over Hasan Piker. You're the man. I've met this guy. Wait, what? Oh my God. Bro, I didn't even know I met him. Hey, yo, that's crazy. Yes, at the Abdul student rally. How is this an attack ad, dude? Yeah, no, I disavow Will Lawrence. He's here. How about this? How about this? He is a dangerous moderate, and I hate that. And I disavow him. And yeah, that's it. I disavow Will Lawrence. Is that good? Here, yeah. He's not a real one. I mean, I actually am kind of annoyed that he dropped the DSA thing. That's like, yeah, oh, look at me. I let my DSA membership lapse. Okay, fine. Yeah, I disavow him. Also, I don't like that he's taller than me. What the fuck? Why is this guy taller than me? What is happening? I'm the tallest leftist, okay? Emily Jasinski has your back, Hasan. What is this?
Let's talk a little bit about wokeness.
Damn, okay, breaking points. Relax, bro. At least your beard can touch your nose. Anyway, let's get back to it. So yeah, there's definitely an element of Francesca Hong being an Asian woman that played a role in this. But my point is a little bit broader, right? My point is a little bit broader than that. I'm not even talking about that necessarily. I'm talking specifically about how liberals and how leftists sometimes even don't realize what kind of media they're consuming and get fucking duped by it. And they end up developing resentment towards their allies, resentment towards certain positions. And I do think that there was more to the clip, man. Okay, guys, shut the fuck up. I'm sorry, okay? God, I can't even make a fucking point. You're like, no, finish the Caroline clip. Jesus Christ, shut the fuck up.
That is the type of shit that people need to unpack. They need to examine within themselves, especially if you're someone who thought that Graham Plattner was a great candidate. Or even if you didn't necessarily think
here, I'm decentering men from the broadcast. Okay, it's just Caroline. It's just Caroline's broadcast, guys. Okay, is that good? Can I get a fucking word in edgewise? Can I? In my own goddamn stream without everybody fucking playing backseat producer. I sound like Mark Levin. Life, Liberty, Levin, the great one. What the fuck is wrong with all of you? Fuck you.
A great candidate. You were still defending him even when there was the Nazi tattoo and him talking about how much he loved killing brown people over in the Middle East and that he wishes that he could have been there for Nam, that he then when the abuse allegations started coming out, I'm just saying, I think that it is important to examine your...
Great clip, guys. Great clip you clipped, Clipper. Didn't even end the fucking point.
I don't give a shit about Hasan Piker. I don't give a shit about...
Watch the entire VOD. Okay, I am going to put you on a rocket ship. All right. All jokes aside. I get the point that she's making. The point that she's making is that, like, look, if you were unbelievably gracious to Graham Plattner, even after, like, you know, a bunch of accusations started coming out, but you don't offer any of that to someone like Francesca Hong, you're being a little bit of a chud. And yes, it is quite literally because she was an Asian woman. That absolutely plays a role in it. But it goes beyond that. I think you're going soft on chatters with bad clips. I know. I should fucking put them on a spaceship. Oh, you say, okay, take a day off, my Yakmason. I'm going hard. So it's that there's definitely did Hong have allegations? No. The point is, we are not gracious enough. We are not gracious enough to people on our side, people closest to us, and we end up dropping the ball a little bit. It's fine. This is not even about Francesca Hong. I don't know how the fuck we got to Francesca Hong. It's because I was watching the Caroline clip. But my point is this. Okay. We're getting duped. We're getting manipulated by right-wingers. We're getting manipulated by right-wing algorithms designed by sometimes, pro-Trump and oftentimes pro-Trump and pro-Israel billionaires, Zionist billionaires who are pro-Trump, have literally purchased all of our social media algorithms, and I think they're tweaking it. They're tweaking those algorithms to make us divided. They're tweaking those algorithms to make us fight one another. And the reason why I wanted to bring this up, the reason why I'm talking about this is because it dovetails into this point that I was trying to make, right? There's a broader point, and I'm actually going to start off by offering a little bit of defense in the most unique switch up of all time to David Crowley. Okay? That's right. Data Dave. I am going to talk about the Cardinal Seer David Crowley himself, who's, of course, defeated our candidate Francesca Hong. Data Dave Crowley. Now, why am I talking about this? Because they are about to do the exact same thing. The Democrats are going to fuck this up if they don't act right. Okay? I tweeted about this earlier this morning after having a little bit of a convo with Dave Weigel. Okay? David Weigel and I had a brief back and forth on the timeline, and I've been endlessly thinking about that. So one, I said, so many people on TikTok threads on here, all owned by real pro-MAGA billionaires, think they're liberal or woke or whatever and absolutely get duped and repeat talking points designed by the right to constantly hit their left flank. I think the country is going to go more right-wing unless we get more diligent about this, right? And then this guy says, insane levels of mental rape. It's like, dude, you use terms like mental rape. I don't want to fucking hear from you, okay? Like, I'm sorry. It's like, what do you mean? Oh, you're not a person I want to be around. Okay. You're gross. Please stop. That's it. I check out. So the reason why I'm bringing up David Crowley is because David Crowley got clip chipped. And I even played a little bit of a role in this. Okay. And I want to talk about it, right? I want to talk about David Crowley's broad perspective on data centers and what the shortcomings of it are, but also what his full assessment is. Okay? So, and what this means for the conservative, the conservatives and what their goals are. So if you've been paying attention to the race so far, what's the one thing that you know about Dave Crowley? You know he's Data David Crowley. He loves data. He loves AI centers. He wants it in their backyards, right? He wants Wisconsin to be a hub for data centers. Now, why do we think this? Well, partially it's because he said it, right? He said it on numerous interviews. He's said this himself on numerous interviews, right? Like, he's been asked, like, what's the number one difference between you and Francesca Hong? And he goes, I love data centers, right? He keeps saying it over and over again. DC, David Crowley, DC, data centers. However, there's more to it. There's more to it. There's more to the story. And even I responded to this. I said, because after a Politico report came out, it said, David Crowley reiterated after winning the Democratic Party, he will not embrace the moratorium on data center development that Francesca Hong ran on. No moratorium, Crowley said in an interview. Now, here's the problem. Tom Tiffany has been pivoting and at least making himself seem like he's anti-data centers, or at least more anti-data center than David Crowley. Tom Tiffany's been hitting him hard on this. Tiffany launched his campaign in Mosinee with a hard line on data centers and attacks on Democratic opponent. To which I responded with, David Crowley, I know you hate me, but please don't do this. People fucking hate data centers. 76% of Wisconsin thinks the cost outweigh the benefits. Even Tom Tiffany is lying about taking a hard stance against them. So here is the problem. Okay? Here's the problem. David Crowley is not anti-data center, but neither is Tom Tiffany. As a matter of fact, David Crowley and Tom Tiffany have the exact same point of view on data centers. This is an issue. This is an issue, okay? Because Tom Tiffany, the Republican, is presenting himself as the anti-data center Republican and attacking David Crowley as the pro-data center Democrat. This is a huge issue, twofold, and it's identical to what happened in 2024. Both parties were pro-Israel continuing its genocide. One party was responsible for the genocide. It was the Democrats. And the Kamala Harris campaign refused to cut the dead weight, refused to pivot, refused to say that they're against genocide, right? And what did Donald Trump do? Donald Trump was not interested in actually stopping the genocide. He continued it. We know he's the president now, right? But during the campaign, he presented himself as the peace candidate. He presented himself as the peaceful dove. He even went to Dearborn and said, I'm going to end the war. He sent letters that I have seen photos of. He sent handwritten letters to community leaders in Dearborn, lying to them, saying he's going to do everything in his power to bring Israel to heel. A lot of this conversation gets forgotten. Okay? And what did the Democrats do? Democrats brought the AIPAC attack dog, Richie Torres, Jeffrey Epstein's friend, Bill Clinton, to Michigan to campaign on how pro-Israel they actually were. You have to remember, you're positioning yourself in a very short period of time as for or against a particular position. If Republicans at least dignify their audience and lie to them, and the Democrats constantly take this like unbelievably centrist position, okay, then of course people who are not paying close attention to anything are going to go, well, okay, I never thought I would vote for a Republican, but he's the one who's anti-data center. This is the issue. This is the problem. Do you understand? So there should be no world where David Crowley and Tom Tiffany have the same position on data centers. Okay? David Crowley should be objecting to more data centers being built. He should be objecting to it. He should be in favor of the data center moratorium. But the problem is Tom Tiffany is using his centrist message on this against them. Just like the Republicans, just like Trump used Kamala Harris's centrist messaging or pro-war messaging against her. Please wake up. It's not clip chimping. David said all of this. He wants to subsidize data centers. I know. The problem is Tom Tiffany has the exact same position as David Crowley, but Tom Tiffany is attacking David Crowley on his openly pro-data center points. Tom Tiffany is smart enough to at least say that he's anti-data centers while he's very clearly pro-data centers, and then turning around and shitting on David Crowley for having the same position. My point is, this is bad policy and bad politics. Democrats, wisen up. Wake up. It's so stupid. It is so unbelievably stupid. Democrats are behaving in the exact same dumbass ways that they did in 2024. Okay? They're doing it again. They are going to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory once again. Crowley is not allowed to be for a data center moratorium because he's not paid to be for it. He's paid to be pro-data center. He can't lie because they want him to lend legitimacy to the idea that pro-data centers can be progressive. I understand that. I know that he is an empty suit, but my point is, you're going to fucking lose the race. You're going to lose. You are going to lose to the Republicans if you do this. You are going to lose to the Republicans if you do this. Please do not do this. That is my warning to the liberals. I know you don't fuck with me. I know you think I hate the Democratic Party, and I know you think I'm an op or something, but like, you're going to fucking lose. I said this in 2024 as well, and people just did not fucking listen, and they're not going to listen once again. And we're going to say, I told you so. Here it is. You're doing it again. Oh, I'm just so tired, man. I'm so fucking tired. But anyway, this is what the Republican strategy is, okay? The Republican strategy is very clearly in the midterm elections, not just to like center me as like the figurehead of the Democratic Party or something like that. Their goal is to divide the base of the party. Their goal is to divide the base of the party between the left activist base that clearly is agitated, clearly wants change, and have actually showed up in massive numbers so far in the primaries all around the country. The Republicans are going to try to go to those people, our community, and tell those people, look how bad the establishment Democrats are. Look how dog shit the establishment Democrats are. Look how right-wing the establishment Democrats are. You should sit this race out. You should sit this race out. That is what they're going to do. And then in Michigan, they're going to do the exact opposite. In Michigan, they're going to go to the black communities. They're going to go to the Jewish communities. They're going to go to the rural communities where there's kind of racially charged white folk out there who may or may not like Islam and, Abdul el-Sayed. That's a weird name for me. And they're going to try to get them to believe that Abdul el-Sayed is this dangerous radical, this Islamic jihadist. And they're going to try to get them to stay at home or maybe vote for Mike Rogers. They know that, black people are not going to vote for Mike Rogers, but at least they're going to try to get them to stay home and not vote for Abdul el-Sayed. And that's exactly what's going on. That is the message. That is the strategy. Okay? Don't just assume that it's not going to work, by the way. That would be silly. Okay? That would be silly. Do not underestimate our opposition. They are smart. They are conniving. They could not win with their dog shit agenda if they weren't at least smart enough to dupe people. Okay? So here's the issue. Yeah, Fox keeps saying that their goal is to try to get black people to vote for Republicans, but the real goal is for them to stay home. They're not. Black people are not going to go out and vote for the white supremacist party that's openly running on racial agitation, right? That's not going to happen. That's ridiculous. So that's the other point that I want to make. Okay, this is a broader point. I said, I think Wisconsin going to the centrist Dem and Michigan going to the left is about to be the biggest test for unity and victory in 2028. Republicans are done. Trumpism is repulsive. People want changes. And more importantly, people want to punish Trump. But in Michigan, the GOP is trying to keep moderates at home. And in Wisconsin, they're trying to keep the left at home by, doing clip compilations, clip chimping, and the like. Let your anger for Trump and GOP be your North Star and don't fall for it. If both of these seats aren't won, the 2028 candidate will also lose to the GOP. Okay? What they're trying to do is, because broadly speaking, if I were to put my Nate Cohn hat on for a second, okay? If I was a Nate Cohn head, all right? New York Times, Mr. Needle, Mr. Data Guy. What I would say is largely this. The Democratic Party's base of support is comprised of the quote-unquote activist left and also more moderate voters. The more moderate voters simply don't want Republicans to win, okay? They just don't want the Republicans to win. They're the electability guys, okay? They understand that the Republicans cause chaos. They're pretty bad. Republicans are pretty bad. But they're also a little bit older. They have a little bit more of a nest egg. Oftentimes, these are homeowners or owned and operated small business owners and the like. These are people who live in more rural areas or suburbs, right? Some of them don't have a college education. Many of them are retirees. Those guys can be duped into not voting. Those guys could potentially get a little scared if the candidate is being presented as a dangerous radical who wants to open up the prisons and allow pedophiles to roam the streets. They're old. These are old people. Some of them are your parents, right? Some of them are your parents. Not every single one of them has the same understanding of this media environment that we now exist in. They're more likely to fall for AI ads. They're more likely to believe shit that they see on their timeline. Okay. So that's one part of the base. Abdul needs to win those guys, right? The left needs to be able to go to those communities and be like, hey, I'm a normal guy. I'm a cool guy. I'm super chill. I just want to make sure that, your grandchildren have a better future, right? I want your grandchildren to have a better future. That's what we're fighting for. These guys are lying. They're Republican. They're insane. Okay? And for the record, I have endless amounts of faith in Abdul. I think he will be able to accomplish this 100%, especially because again, these are some of the most loyal partisans out there, right? Many of the people that voted for Haley Stevens in the primary are some of the biggest, most loyal vote blue no matter who partisans. I don't think that they're going to be geared enough or tuned up by Republican attack ads enough that they're going to be like, I am not voting for this guy. This guy's a scary radical. He's a dangerous terrorist, right? Here's one great example of this, by the way. I mean, here it is. Yeah, I'm no fan of male Muslims. Not to say all are hateful Muslims. Politically, I'm no fan of Muslims that are connected to their country running for any political office. We are not their people, just know. So I read the above post. At first, I thought it was a fake story to get people to think he's a good person. But I read the whole story. Then I looked up the profile of the person who wrote the post. Guess what? We have a mutual friend in the animal rescue world, a person I respect. This friend once worked at our animal control here in Panama City, Florida. Jim was instrumental in working with me and our local Humane Society to partner with the Humane Society, of which I was the president of at the time, to pull dogs and cats out of animal control, a certain amount every couple of weeks. Anyway, if Melissa Miller says Abdul was an advocate for the animals that came into the shelter he worked at, then I accept what she says about Abdul caring to make a difference for these homeless animals. That gives me hope that Abdul won't go socialist during his term. Thank you, Melissa, for the insight. Now, guys, stop saying racist piece of shit. Stop. Remember, these are just regular Americans, okay? Not everyone is going to have all of the correct opinions. It's just, it is what it is, okay? It is what it is. This is good. We take those, okay? Stop freaking out. But those are the people that you got to worry about. Those are the people who you got to worry about. There are clearly people out there who have their shortcomings about, Abdul's background. They hear Muslim. I mean, we're talking about 25 years of Islamophobic propaganda. If you think that some boomers and some Gen Xers are not going to feel some type of way about Islam after all of that, you're wrong, right? I know that this is the environment that I exist in. My name is Hasan, right? I know this is the environment that I have to exist in. It's just, there's nothing you can do about it. You just have to put in the work and work through it, okay? So instead of getting mad about this, your takeaway from this story should be that we need to repeat that over and over again. We need to be able to repeat that all up and down the state. Do you understand? So you're doing it again, being too overly charitable. No, brother, I'm not being too over charitable. I'm being pragmatic. I'm living in the real world. The real world has a lot of people like that. Those people are closer to the average median voter than you are, okay? It sucks. That's why I also appreciated Zoran for eating it for the longest time. They were saying heinous shit about Zoran. The attack ads were heinous. How do you think that makes me feel? I was used against them too. How do you think that makes me feel? I'm also a fucking 34-year-old Muslim socialist. You think I like seeing someone who is that close in representational politics to someone like myself being called a fucking a terrorist every goddamn day? No, it doesn't feel great. 35-year-old now. Yes, it doesn't feel great at all. But it doesn't matter because you just got to fucking eat it. You just got to eat it at times. I feel like you're saying all this is going to be perceived as you trying to get everyone to go easier on you personally. We already know how disingenuous they are. Yeah, I don't care about how people perceive what I'm saying. I'm talking to you guys, and I'm talking about the trends that I am experiencing, the trends that I'm seeing, the trends that I'm observing. Okay? So we're the only salesman in the woods then? We have to eat the shit? Yes, at times you have to. That's called taking on the emotional labor. Remember? That was a woke one holdover. Yeah. Because you're making an argument to people. You're trying to bring people to your side. Okay? That's how you do the work. That's how you do it. Sometimes you got to eat it. It sucks. But it's true. I do it all the time. Right? So the reason why I brought it up is because right now, the entire anti-Trump forces in this country are facing the exact same type of attack. And there are a lot of people who are oblivious to what's going on. And because I'm at the heart of this attack in some ways, I have experienced it personally, so I'm seeing it. And I'm warning against it. I'm warning against it for the liberals that encounter what I have to say and maybe have developed this very negative attitude. I'm warning the members in my community as well. I am warning everyone. Tom Tiffany and David Crowley have the exact same position on data centers. They're both pro data centers, okay? With a crumb of regulation. This is a major mistake for David Crowley. He needs to communicate a different position from Tom Tiffany and start badgering Tom Tiffany over the head. Start bullying Tom Tiffany with Tom Tiffany's pro data center position. Okay? It's fair analysis, but Crowley told us he doesn't want our help. It doesn't matter. Are you Neera Tanden? Are you also a drunk loser working for the Center for American Progress? Who gives a shit that David Crowley said? David Crowley could come out and be like, I hate Hasan. I will fucking ban him from the state of Wisconsin. That's not going to change my perspective on this race. Okay? I've never done that. I mean, look at me now. The Democrats, or at the very least, a lot of the establishment Democrats, have openly demonstrated their enmity towards me, and yet I'm still telling you what my position is. I'm still telling you how to make progress. I don't care. I don't care that they fucking hate my ass. I don't give a shit. I don't want Republicans to be in charge. It's that simple, because I can think beyond the immediate race. I can think beyond David Crowley losing, and then maybe some people on the left feeling like it's a moment of progress, or it's an opportunity to say, I told you so to those establishment Democrats, because many of you weren't around in 2016. Many of you weren't around in 2020, and many of you only started paying attention in 2024. These motherfuckers don't care. They're still going to say the left is the reason why we lost, and they just didn't vote for David Crowley. Okay? They don't want to learn any lessons. We just have to defeat them later down the line. Okay? The way I'm looking at the David Crowley situation is, if he wins, it's a trifecta. And there's a higher likelihood of redistricting the state of Wisconsin. It's going to make it harder for Republicans to win the state of Wisconsin. These things take time, okay? But that's ultimately a good thing, especially considering that next time around, someone like Francesca Hong, or Francesca Hong herself, is going to have a much easier time winning a seat of power in the state, okay? Do you understand? What's the difference between Crowley and Tiffany, really? I mean, he's not an election denier. He's not a Republican. He's going to sign off on a lot of the stuff. He's going to sign off on a lot of the stuff that the Democratic majorities in the fucking House and the Senate are going to push for. Like, there are differences. There are differences that are not significant enough for the average voter right now, unfortunately. But if you're asking me sincerely, like, what are the differences? Like, yeah, of course. You're not voting for David Crowley. You're voting for redistricting. You're not voting for David Crowley. You're voting for, you're voting for the agenda of the Wisconsin Democratic Party to be passed. And that is a good agenda, broadly speaking. There's going to be bad elements in it, like the pro data center nonsense, right? But ultimately, there's good in there as well. So that's it. That's the problem, though. The problem is most people don't want to fucking see it. Most people don't want to recognize it. And I can't propagandize for David Crowley anyway. If David Crowley's out there being like, I love data centers, I want one in my backyard, I want to hug and kiss data centers, I'm in love with a data center, I love ChatGPT. If he's doing that shit, then yeah, of course, Tom Tiffany, who has the exact same fucking opinion on data centers, is going to be able to go, see? My opponent loves data centers. Anyway, yeah, look, Tom Tiffany already found another clip.
Mentioned. And so I do think that there's an opportunity for us to really become AI and a data hub for not only for the entire country, but for the entire globe, and really sets us really apart in making sure that we can continue to invest in businesses and companies here.
It'd be easier for someone like Hong to win if Crowley loses. Why should we keep rewarding the electability argument? Again, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. Okay? I'm just giving you my approach and my commentary on this issue. I don't care. I don't think that that's the case anyway. It's not a fucking zero-sum game regardless, but it is once again terrible for the centrist Democrats to run on this shit. The problem is Judging by what Tony Evers said, I don't even think they think this is bad. I think they're out of touch to an unbelievable degree where they fucking think that it's good to be pro data center. Here's a few things. 1, redistricting also increases our chances to gain power. 2, Democrats being in power and being cowards and corporate stooges increases our chance of winning now that people are paying attention. I agree. My point is this. I'm not going to cover this stuff too much. Because, like, obviously, look, the candidate I wanted to win didn't win. The candidate I wanted was Francesca Hong. I stumped for her. I rallied for her. She lost by an ass hair. She lost by a very tiny margin. Okay? But that doesn't mean that politics stop existing for me in the state of Wisconsin. Right? It's no different than the 2024 Kamala Harris mistakes that they're repeating. So I'm going to use this as an educational moment for everyone that's tuning in, everyone that cares about this race, everyone that wants to understand what the flaws are. Okay? That's a major issue. But it's also a teachable moment because they are pulling off the Republicans are pulling off the exact same thing in both of these races. Logs, you always talk about how politicians should earn your vote. How is voting for the lesser evil a horrible concept? Why is this any different? It's not. I'm making the argument for hopefully all of the Democratic consultants that despise me that are coming in here to be like, oh, what is this asshole saying today? To recognize that this is a major mistake. They're not going to, but I'm going to say it nonetheless, okay? I'm putting it into the record right now. I want David Crowley to take on some of Francesca Hong's platform and policies, one of which would definitely be to sign on board with a data center moratorium. If he doesn't do that, because a data center moratorium doesn't mean we just stop building data centers. It means we stop building data centers before we actually identify exactly how we are going to build said data centers. Okay? That's the real secret here. A lot of people don't realize that, like, even the data center moratorium is not about, like, not building data centers ever again, right? It's not the point. The point is to identify some of the problems with data centers, to identify exactly how, the AI industry is displacing the labor force, to understand the environmental impact. It's a moratorium to develop the accurate regulatory mechanisms. It's also an unbelievably popular policy. Okay? It's good policy and it's good politics. So, of course, Democrats are refusing to abide by it. In any case, it blows my mind that this is a 75-25 issue and the Republicans are at least smart enough to position David Crowley as the pro data center candidate, and people don't even realize it because the Democrats are fucking it up again. Chad needs to realize that Wisconsin has had Republican majorities in its state house and state senate. If Tiffany's the governor, they can do everything that every other red state has done: cut healthcare, cut taxes, persecute trans people, defund public schools, and restrict abortion rights. The other side of this problem is that David Crowley is simply taking this position. David Crowley is taking the data center position not because he just loves data centers, even though it comes across like he certainly does. Okay? Data center David Crowley is taking this position because he just doesn't want the expenditures coming in and destroying his race. Okay? Data Crowley is worried. It's the same with Israel. Like, none of these guys are that loyal to the state of Israel. They're just scared of money. They're scared of outside money coming in and deploying the money cannon in their races, where it makes it a lot harder for them to win said races. Okay, that's it. And the same goes for Data Center Crowley. He wants the corporate money to be spent in his direction, not against them. You understand? They'll be known as David Centers in the state of Wisconsin. Yeah, maybe. Anyway, it's just bad. It's just really, really bad. It is a really bad predicament to be in. And Democrats, at least the centrist Democrats in this instance, are falling for it again. On the other side, because remember, they are a part of the coalition. Okay? Centrist Democrats, establishment Democrats, and also more moderate voters or like older voters that are scared off by radicalism are just as part of the broad base of support in the party as we are. right? Our job is obviously to win those people over. Our job is to show those people that you can be a little bit quote unquote radical and still be electable, because their primary concern is not letting Republicans win, right? And maybe for some of them, they might get scared about, Abdul al-Sayed's name and think he's a radical terrorist or something. And we got to win those people over as well. And I know we can. So what I'm trying to say is it's two sides of the same coin. Republicans know that in Michigan, they can really boost the radicalism of Abdul al-Sayed. And they know in Wisconsin, they can hit David Crowley on being pro-data center for the 300,000 people that went out and voted for the data center moratorium that was anchoring Francesca Hong's platform, okay? And every single instance where we're having a back and forth conversation internally is a moment where we're not talking about what Trump is doing, is a moment where we're not talking about the Republican Party. So Isaiah Martin had a really good take on this as well. I think he was debating someone.
I don't give a shit.
He was debating someone on the Hasan Piker question. Let's take a look at what he had to say.
I don't give a shit about Hasan Piker. I don't give a shit about any of that. I care about the economy. I care about the fact that our healthcare premiums are 26% because we got rid of ACA subsidies. I care about the fact that our farmers are getting fucked right now because we have tariffs that are raising the cost of everything that we buy. I care about the fact that our energy bills are going up left and right. I care about the fact that people literally cannot afford childcare. The amount of rent per kid to put your kid in childcare. That's what I care about. I don't give a fuck about Hasan Piker. I care about this country is completely unaffordable. Inflation's going up like crazy. That's what I care about. Our soldiers are eating fucking slop in the middle of the goddamn ocean. And you're talking about a fucking streamer? Give me a fucking break.
He's not just a streamer, bro. He's being ran on Fox News, and he's...
Dude, this part was my favorite because the chud, his response is, he can't be just a streamer. He's on Fox News all the time. What do you mean, brother? Do you think I want to be on Fox News all the time? Like, you literally are admitting you fell for it. Chud brains, dude. Chud brains are incredible. It's ironic because I do want to be on Fox News. They just won't let me on there. They just want to talk big shit because they know I'd cook their asses. That's what's so funny about it, though, is like, in the mind of a hog, in the mind of a chud, they see something on television and go, well, this is a matter of utmost importance. They have no capacity to realize that they're actually eating propaganda. They have no capacity to realize that, like, this is being positioned in front of them, so they focus on that instead of, how much their wallets are hurting, how much we have lost the war in Iran. That's the issue. And that's what I've been trying to get liberals to get on board with. And I'm glad that there are a lot of like liberals like Adam Mockler, this guy Isaiah Martin, Midas Touch, like a lot of liberals on the independent media side understand exactly what's going on because this is the critical moment. And they've basically been born into this like contentious, hostile, right-wing base boosted, algorithmic media environment. So they recognize where things are headed. They're a lot younger too, and they're a lot more in touch with what the base wants. So you'll never hear from these guys a damn thing about Abdul al-Sayed, like any negative opinions about Abdul al-Sayed, any negative opinions about Zohran Mamdani, AOC. They like all of those people. They like that this is like breathing life into the party. Okay? We don't agree on everything, but it doesn't matter. They understand that the constant focus on someone like myself is actually simply designed to chop the base up into different pieces and divide and conquer, right? That is the goal. The goal here is to divide and conquer the base. And more importantly than dividing and conquering the base, the goal is to not talk about the ineptitude, the corruption of the Republican Party. That is what they're doing. Because every moment that we spend talking about me, talking about my old takes, talking about the role that I'm playing in the Democratic Party is a moment that we're not talking about the fucking president. We're not talking about the Epstein class. We're not talking about the endless wars. We're not talking about the affordability crisis. That is exactly the point that the Republicans want to drive home. So to the liberals, I say, wake up. To the liberal wannabe DNC consultants that play that role for free on Twitter, wake up. There are those who are getting paid to also play this role, masquerading as liberals. There are absolutely those who are getting paid right now 100% to continue this divisive rhetoric to make the base not feel united against the Trump agenda. Okay? There are those who are doing it. So I will always respect those who do not fall for it. Okay?
Absurd this is to people in common sense America.
Okay, I have a question.
Do you realize how absurd this is? You're worried about a damn streamer and our soldiers are sitting in the ocean because our president went and got into war because Benjamin Netanyahu told him to, and they don't know what the fuck is going on. And you're worried about a damn streamer? This is what's ridiculous about. This is why people laugh at the Republican Party, because it's just filled with people who think that we're all stupid. This country is going to shit. Our president is literally insider trading. He literally is refusing to release the Epstein list. You've got all this stuff. He's talking about running in 2028, and you're fucking talking about a goddamn streamer? Who gives a fuck? No one cares.
I have a question.
No.
So yeah, I mean, the other side of this, of course, is like, obviously Republicans are going to do this, right? Because like they're cattle. They're cattle. So of course Republicans are going to do this because they know that they have no other argument. They want people. They want people to pay attention to that shit instead. And it's very frustrating that we are once again falling for the bait. You know what I mean? We're once again falling for the bait. We cannot let right-wing algorithms on Twitter, on Threads, on TikTok, and right-wing algorithms concocted by Zionist pro-MAGA billionaires be the news desk editor for CNN, be the news desk editor for MS Now. Okay, because that is precisely what's going on here. Okay, I said this last night as well. I said Democrats, the broader anti-Trump coalition, and even mainstream media have to stop allowing this website and the GOP to play the role of news desk editor. They get to set the headlines knowing full well we always fall for the bait. This is how they win despite their corruption and violence. Okay, that's how they win. That is how they win. They should not be winning anything right now. It's a +7 national Democratic environment, okay? +7. It should be +20. The only reason why it's +7 is because we still keep falling for it, okay? And it's not like Fox News doesn't realize what they're doing. Look at them. They're doing it. They're flexing. Hasan Piker is making a big demand of Democrats. Defend me. The far-left streamer insists he's part of the coalition, whether you like it or not, as a criticism of his rhetoric becomes an issue in the key midterm races. Democrats, listen to me. I know we don't always see eye to eye on a lot of stuff, but you have to literally at some point, I know you don't want to do this, defend me. That requires you to basically take Dale a little bit and maybe be a bit more honest about how I'm not this dangerous, toxic, radical force. But some Democrats want him disavowed instead. A former Biden White House staffer says the party shouldn't waste political capital defending Piker, while Wisconsin Democratic gubernatorial nominee David Crowley says he won't campaign with him. Piker argues Republicans are using the controversy to distract from the cost of living crisis. They even say it. That's the point. They are doing it. And they're so successful at doing it that they can flex in our faces that they are doing it. Do you see? Like, that is literally Fox News' own digital team openly flexing that they're doing it. I don't think a lot of liberals understand the point I'm making here when I say this. Look, defend me or don't defend me. It doesn't matter. None of this changes my career. None of this changes the trajectory of my career, right? If you think I'm this like calculating grifter who doesn't care about anything, then sure, fine. I mean, from that perspective, it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter if you defend me or not. The reason why I want you to figure out a better way to sidestep that conversation and bring it back to the issues that actually matter, especially if you're going on Fox News, is because Every moment that you're allowing the Republicans to dominate discourse and talk about how radical I am is a moment where you're not talking about the issues, is a moment where you're not talking about what the Republicans don't want you to talk about, which is how dangerous the Republican Party is, how violent the Republican Party is, how violent Trumpism is. So I'm going to show you guys one great example of this, right? I'm going to show you guys one great example of this, and that is former mayor of New York City, Bill de Blasio. Bill de Blasio keeps going on Sean Hannity.
Okay.
And of course, Sean Hannity last night, just like the night prior to last night, talked about me again. It was his entrance. It was his introduction. That's all he's seemingly talking about. Sean Hannity loves talking about me, but never to me. And of course, one of his favorite issues is to bring a guest up and bully them and be like, what do you have to say about Hasan Piker? It's very strange behavior, but he does it every single time. But Bill de Blasio had an incredible retort, an incredible reaction to it. Let's take a look.
Okay. Now, do you like Hasan Piker? Do you support him?
I have mixed views, but I think the way you were describing him, you could have been talking about Donald Trump, honestly.
Okay,
Cozy's up to dictators, says extreme things.
All right, but Bill, you're breaking the rules.
I didn't agree to the rule, my friend.
Here's my question.
You're breaking the rules. What rules, Sean? What rules, Scott? What rules, Scott? What do you mean? What are the rules? No talking ill about daddy? He's like, listen, Bill, I brought you on. I brought you on so you could dunk on Hasan. I didn't bring you on to talk shit. Yeah. Also, Ryan Grimm, here they are watching Mamdani win. Yeah, I said my favorite mayor after Adams. So yeah, Bill de Blasio did the perfect the perfect attack, right? The perfect retort. He did. He realizes that this is totally ridiculous. This is a totally ridiculous argument to present. I said, look, this is exactly how you should deal with this insanely disingenuous framing. Bonus points for reminding people how insane it is that the standards for a Twitch streamer who's spoken for more than 20,000 hours are apparently higher than the president of the United States. This is not even about running away from the issue. They are running away from the issue, the much more consequential issue, which is that Donald Trump is the president. I cannot believe how much we have lost sight of what actually matters, okay? Reframe, go on the counter. That's it. That's all I'm asking. That's all I'm asking for. I'm not saying like learn the context of every single clip that has been 7 years, right? I don't expect you to know all of that. I don't expect you to know all of that at all. That would be impossible. Even my fans don't know every single thing. Okay? The real expectation here is to be smart and just be like, really? We're talking about things that may or may not have been clipped out of context from 10 years ago from a Twitch streamer. That's your main focus tonight and every other night. That's what you want to talk about. Why do you want to talk about this so much? Perhaps you want to talk about this because you can't talk about your president and all of his accomplishments because he has none. Okay? Because he has none. We are the masters of our own destiny. Okay? We control what we can say. We control what we want others to hear. So why are you getting bullied? Why are you getting bullied by these dumbasses, these dumbass chuds? So Muslim of you? I don't know what that means. What is the Islam version of this? Trump has accomplishments, totally fucked up America. Yeah, it is far too big of a target-rich environment with the madness and mania of the Trump administration for every Democrat to not immediately flip the script back and say, what are we doing here? This was the argument. Did you ever think you'd be a distraction used to take people's attention away from a war? No. This is how they steal food from your table, money from your pockets, and then make you feel as though the guys who are doing that are the good guys. Okay? So we got to be a little bit wiser, folks, and I know I'm preaching to the choir here, right? Because you guys are already aware of this, but I think it's utterly unacceptable for prominent liberals to entertain this kind of madness at a time when Donald Trump is the president. And Chris Hayes is doing it right now. Look, he's already pushing back. I'm on vacation, but I got to say, as much fun as it is to debate Woke One and Hasan Piker, the Trump administration is currently engaged in mass murder on the high seas as surely as any serial killer or lynch mob. And viewed from the distance of vacation, the discourse doesn't seem to give a shit. Or the fact that Capital One closed all their accounts for money laundering. And the media is doing everything it can to distract us from the fact that with stories about Woke One and Hasan Piker. I like that. I don't even know what the fuck Woke One is. What is if the kids like to say people need to touch grass a little more? I like that. I don't know who the fuck Hasan Piker is, but I probably consider myself whatever conservative types deem woke. He's an anti-Israel streamer in AIPAC that AIPAC freaked out about a few months ago because anti-Israel politicians had him on for some campaign events. Moderate Dem politicians then, unironically, just got a list of talking points to cover about why they don't like him. Cory Booker declared that he would never go on a stream and then later admitted he didn't actually know anything about Hasan Piker. He was just told by his staff to say it. Thanks for the quick primer. Blue sky liberalism, baby. Blue sky liberalism. We're going to win. They know better. Anyway, yeah, I'm on Threads. I'm on Tubi. I'm on Quibi. I'm on Blue Sky. I'm not on Blue Sky. Yeah, another great retort, another quick retort, because there's so many different ones, but another great quick retort to this kind of slander op, smear op is to be like, where'd you get that clip? You watch his streams? You have any idea what he's about? Who gave this clip to you? Why are you bringing this up? Why is the clip only 13 seconds long? What did he say before? And what did he say after? What is the context of this clip? Are you aware? Are you aware of his positions at all? You know, you can do that too. But like I said, the strongest opposition to this sort of thing, is to basically say, why the fuck are we talking about a Twitch streamer when Donald Trump is the president and he said far more heinous shit, right? The president is currently doing heinous shit. And he's also saying heinous shit as well. The last thing I'm going to say about this before we move on, is a point that I heard get addressed earlier in the day. It was specifically about how, where was it? There was some about like how Republicans never do this about their commentary folk, right? Like, can you imagine the Republicans distancing themselves from Rush Limbaugh, from like, I think it was Cassie Pritchard, aka Hakubian Devil, right? She said, I don't get why people think Hasan Piker is someone you have to disavow or condemn or whatever. The right has had talk radio lunatics far more inflammatory than Piker since the 90s, where Limbaugh, Levin, and Savage some albatross around the right. Now, of course, I know the structural differences between someone like myself. I know the moral differences between someone like myself and Rush Limbaugh, right? But the structural differences, of course, and the differences in the commentary is that those guys are loyal soldiers. They're loyal servants of the party. I'm not a loyal soldier or a servant of the Democratic Party. I'm an independent person, truly independent, only accountable to my own community, right? I'm only accountable to this movement. I'm only accountable to the people. And that's a real problem. And that's also a structural difference. There's a significant difference in my commentary as opposed to someone who is accountable to the party only. A party loyalist is never going to betray the party line. I am not a party loyalist. Okay? I'm a loyalist of the people. So that's a big issue because there are times where I am at odds with what the Democrats want, what the Democrats want to communicate. I mean, 2024 was a great example of this, where I found it unconscionable to come out and openly endorse Kamala Harris as she, was the vice president of an administration that was committing genocide. I never told people not to vote for Kamala Harris. I only told people not to vote for Donald Trump, right? But of course, there are a lot of freemium DNC consultants out there that get no paychecks whatsoever, who constantly repeat this idea that I told people not to vote for Kamala Harris. They do it all the time. They say it nonstop. It's not true, but it doesn't even matter, right? Yes, I also told people not to vote for Jill Stein, but that's a separate point. Even if it wasn't Kamala Harris, that point would still remain because, you know, I'm not a Green Party guy. I think they're deeply unserious, but that's besides the point. Okay, that's not even relevant to the conversation, right? The only person that I urged, with the exception of Jill Stein, who is somewhat, you know, irrelevant in this conversation, the only person I ever told people not to vote for was Donald Trump. Okay, but it's unbelievably bad faith, and they still hit these lines over and over again. It is crazy. Okay, it's crazy. When you have the moral authority and don't act like it, you come across cornered and defensive and give permission for trash to be in control of the narrative. For example, when someone has the audacity to question you on the crime of not endorsing you, you should always let them know their place and that your criminal critique of your campaign was right, that they are the reason why we're here. Shame them. I mean, I agree, but, you know, it's just like silly to relitigate that because I feel like it's an unserious point of contention. Because then it's just like, oh, well, you let it happen. You did everything in your power to make sure that she doesn't actually win the race, like as though I have this kind of power whatsoever. It's just stupid. I would rather have a more productive conversation. This is you talking about her when you did your ballot. Yeah. No. Did I forget the president? No, I did not forget the president. I voted for the president. I'm just not telling you who I voted for. I am not going to influence your opinion in any direction unless it is to vote for Trump, in which case I will tell you not to do it. And this was consistent throughout 2024. I consistently told people that the only decision that I will influence is if you ever dare entertain voting for Donald Trump, and that you must not do that. And that's insane. The problem is this is a rehashing of the exact same stuff that happened in 2016 and 2020 as well. It's ironic because I endorsed Hillary Rodham Clinton and I endorsed Joseph Robinette Brandon in those races. But even then, and so did Bernie, right? Even then, what did the establishment Democrats do? In 2016, they said it wasn't sufficient. You weren't excited enough. You should have been losing your mind. You should have been like, oh my God, I'm so excited to vote. I'm with her. Right? That was the argument. That was the environment that we were in. That was literally the argument back then. So the point is not that, oh, I didn't endorse this person or I did endorse this person, but the endorsement wasn't sufficient enough. The point is they're looking for someone to blame. Okay? They are looking for someone to blame. It's never good enough. It's never enough. It's never enough. When the establishment Democrats lose, it's the left's fault. Okay? Always. It's the left's fault. It's Russia's fault. It's everybody else's fault. It's never the campaign's fault. It's the voters' fault. It's never the campaign. So we're going to move on from this nonsense because there's a lot to cover. There's a lot to talk about. There's a great debate take. Now we are getting to Luigi Mangione, someone who we haven't talked about for a while. Luigi Mangione is confirmed to, and he's prepared to plead guilty. No deal with the government. We're going to talk about this case. It's been a while since we've talked about this case. For those of you who don't know, Luigi Mangione allegedly killed the United Healthcare CEO, Brian Thompson. He was caught. He got away. And then he was caught by a McDonald's employee in a nearby state in Pennsylvania. And the authorities pounced on him. You know, allegedly all of this happened, right? Now, he's not pleading guilty to the murder. He's pleading guilty to the stalking charges. We're going to be talking about the importance of that. But yeah, let's get started here.
Right outside the courthouse in New York City, where Luigi Mangione confirms he is prepared to plead guilty. Tell us more, Shimon.
Okay, so I'm going to just bring it to you right now from inside the courtroom. Mangione has begun speaking, and here we go. After years of enduring pain from a broken back and witnessing similar experiences of others, he said he learned United Healthcare would be holding its annual investor conference in December 2024. He said the public location wasn't posted, but he researched to learn the location and who would be there. This is him now in court speaking to the judge in this allocution. This is the part for the judge to decide whether or not she is going to accept this plea. And he's now describing in his own words how he was stalking United CEO Healthcare Brian Thompson, saying that he learned of where he was going to be and that after years of enduring pain from a broken back and witnessing similar experiences of others, he researched where Brian Thompson would be at an investor conference in Manhattan in 2024. Brian Thompson's family seated, oh, they are crying, is what our reporter Kara Scannell is telling us. What a moment for that family to come face to face. It breaks my heart because they have been so silent and they have not said anything throughout this whole ordeal. And to see their loved one to be murdered in this way, and now the man responsible for it standing up in court for them will be excuses. And none of this is going to make sense. To hear him explain why he did what he did, and we have heard this from Luigi Mangione before during the investigation of this, where he was having issues with his back. But for this family to sit there and listen to this, and he's now, here we go, Pam, again, he says to the judge, I shot Mr. Thompson and he died.
Wow.
He concluded by saying,
wait, oh, he did? Luigi Mangione pleaded guilty today. One of the things he said, I emailed United Healthcare's leadership posing as an investor managing $58 billion. Unlike my other experiences with the company, I was contacted back within 1 hour.
I knew what I was doing was illegal. Again, I shot Mr. Thompson and he died. I knew what I was doing was illegal. That family is...
Shouldn't the media refrain from projecting guilt? Buddy, are you kidding me? Part of the reason why, here's the thing. Part of the reason why the media immediately took on this issue is because it's a high-profile assassination, right? It's a high-profile assassination of a CEO. And yes, corporate-backed media obviously lost their damn minds when they saw that the broader American public, who are normally very, very anti-crime, like most people are anti-crime, but like Americans are very aggressive about crimes, especially death, especially a murder, right? When they see a murder take place in broad daylight, Americans usually are like, oh yeah, kill the guy, right? Kill the guy back. That's the normal draconian attitude that most Americans have. This time it was different. Before they even knew who the victim was, Americans knew what that person's job was, right? And immediately took a very different stance than you would normally expect. And it wasn't just young people either. There were plenty of older people as well who had had experiences having their insurance claims denied in some of their weakest moments, in some of their worst moments in their lives. Okay? So they associated that. They associated the victim with the pain that they had felt. Okay? They associated the person who was killed in broad daylight with the social murder of the system. They associated that with their own pain of their loved ones in their last days, in their final moments, wasting away, calling up insurance companies to try to get them to pay for this medical process, right? They associated it with the medical bankruptcies that they've experienced. So from their perspective, this was a very different story. Americans, when they see a murder in broad daylight, they think of themselves as the victim. But this time, they thought of themselves as being victimized by the person who was the victim. Now, again, analysis is not endorsement. Before people freak out over this, I'm not endorsing what allegedly Luigi Mangione did. I'm simply telling you what the reaction was. Okay? You have to remember that. Brian Thompson was the CEO when the company boasted record profits the same year they abruptly canceled my gender-affirming surgery. So in this case, Brian Thompson personally wronged me. Yeah, everyone has a story like that. Everyone has a story like that, right? And remember, United Healthcare actually had windfall record high profits that year because they had also started deploying artificial intelligence to do these claim denials. And because AI was not very good and therefore very good for the purpose of claim denial because it wasn't accurate, they were capable of denying far more than other competitive healthcare providers like private for-profit insurance companies. There's a real story of pain behind every insurance claim being denied. There's a real family behind it. There's real struggle behind it. It's a systemic form of violence. So obviously, especially in corporate media, people don't recognize it as such. But it was such a strange phenomena that even someone like Elizabeth Warren went on television and was like, look, this is a heinous crime. But the reality of the matter is, like, a lot of people are suffering. A lot more people are suffering all around the country because of the healthcare system that we have.
Sitting in that courtroom listening to this.
What? Professor Arati, Jason Arday found dead. I don't know who this person is. What? Jason Arday found dead after resigning from Cambridge over plagiarism claims? I don't know what this is. I don't know who this guy is. You haven't heard the stories about him? No. He got hounded by British media. You need to brush up. Okay, I'll get to that in a second. I'll look at what's going on here in a minute, but this is, let's continue talking about Luigi Mangione.
Wow. Again, he admits now, in his own words, to stalking Brian Thompson. He says that in November of 2024, that he traveled, Luigi Mangione telling the judge, I traveled from outside of New York State to Manhattan. So he came from outside of New York. I emailed United Healthcare leadership. Wow. So they heard this. I don't remember ever hearing this. I then emailed United Healthcare leadership, Luigi Mangione saying that he emailed United Healthcare leadership posing as an investor at a firm managing over $15 billion in assets and requested information about the conference. Wow. Unlike my previous interactions with insurers, he received an immediate response within an hour. And that is how he learned where Brian Thompson would be on the morning he would execute him.
I wanted to see this case in front of a jury because I really, really wanted to see how a jury would react to this. A lot of people were like, this is open and shut, right? But there was so much misconduct from the prosecutor's side. There was so much high-profile misconduct from attorneys general. Like, this was a defense attorney's dream high-profile case, by the way. Just judging by the way that they reacted, judging by the way that they operated, where it was, guilty until proven innocent, basically, from the start. Yeah, Eric Adams made him do the perp walk, not prep walk. It was going to be a real interesting case. I think they're going to fight the state case, get jury nullification. This is what you mean by social murder in action, affecting not just the patient.
This is what the other side of the line looks like. This is my sister Michelle. She can't walk because you guys messed up 24 years ago. We don't mind waking up at 6 a.m. to take care of her before ourselves. We don't even mind carrying her down 5 flights of stairs when the elevator breaks. But the one thing we can't stand are the pieces of paper you keep sending us. The ones with no context. Prices pulled from your inflated charge master, billing errors, charges for things that we never received. Most importantly, it's the time you've stolen from us. Most people don't realize it, but
nothing I can do.
that one sentence makes you billions of dollars a year. Your job gets easier every time we don't apply for financial assistance. And your margins, they go up every time we believe a bill isn't negotiable. So if you won't tell Americans, I will. So until you pick up, we'll keep saying, dear hospitals.
Wealthiest nation on earth, man. Only OECD country. Only OECD country where there is a concept such as medical bankruptcy. Think about that. Wealthiest country on the planet, wealthiest country to have ever existed in history. And this is how we treat one another. This is a byproduct of the system, and systemic harm is oftentimes invisible, but it's not invisible when you're living through it. For the individual, it is very visible. It's a constant reminder. It's a very important part of this family's lives, right? I can't believe it. I can't understand it. I don't understand how others don't understand it, because this is such a universal point of pain that even rich people struggle with it. Even rich people have issues with it. It was remarkable seeing CEOs and small business owners on LinkedIn writing underneath Brian Thompson's post like, "You fucking piece of shit." It was crazy. It's crazy. I get it. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. And, you know, it's good for the GDP and stuff, right? It's a very powerful industry that spends a good deal of money lobbying Congress, right? 100,000 lives a year. New study that came out from Yale found that Medicare for All would save 114,000 lives a year and reduce healthcare spending by over $1 trillion. Families would no longer have to choose between paying household bills or seeing a doctor. Medicare for All is the right answer, but to our broken healthcare system. It's incredible. And so once again, corporate media that oftentimes is getting funds from Aetna, Blue Cross Blue Shield, and numerous other companies, right? Numerous other profiteers of our pain can turn around and focus on how people reacted to Luigi Mangione, how people reacted to this innocent man, Brian Thompson, getting slain. But the struggle continues. The pain continues. The pain is very real, and it is very universal. Dude, yeah, this is a great point. Joe Biden. When Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, or not Hunter Biden, Beau Biden, I apologize, had cancer due to the burn pits when he was serving in Iraq, Afghanistan, okay? He had cancer, and Joe Biden couldn't pay the medical bills. So we had to take a loan from Barack Obama at the time. When Biden was vice president, Obama was the president. People talked about this like it was, a point of pride. Like, oh, look at how wonderful it is. Look how awesome it is that, the vice president is just like us. It's like, what are you talking about? This is insanity. This is utter madness. Joe Biden says Obama offered financial help during his son's illness. That's what I mean when I say this impacts everyone, even in the highest office. I went on my insurance provider's website to book a new PCP visit months in advance. I show up to the appointment. The front desk tells me that due to a negotiations fallout with the insurance, they're no longer considered in-network, and instead of a $20 copay, I'd be on the hook for $300. I was already there. What was I going to do? Leave and wait months just for the same thing to maybe happen somewhere else? I ate it because I could. Imagine how often that happens to people who can't. Exactly. This can't go on. This cannot continue. It is one of the most insane processes that we abide by. And of course, once again, as is the case, because they can't tackle the message, they'll shoot the messenger. If you say this is unacceptable, if you say something like the reason why people find Luigi Mangione to be an innocent person or whatever, it stems from the fact that they've actually seen. It stems from the fact that they've actually experienced the negative consequences that are deeply personal, the violence of this system of for-profit healthcare. They'll say, "Oh, you're in support of Luigi Mangione. You're in support of murder. You're in support of death and destruction." I am a socialist. I'm a Marxist. I am not an anarchist. I am not in favor of adventurism. Okay? adventurism oftentimes has a very negative reaction. I'm not a believer in the propaganda of the deed. Okay? I oppose adventurism. I am in favor of diligent organizing, militant organizing, changing the structural forms of violence by consistently pushing against them. That's what I believe. That's my theory of change, right? You are not a Marxist. Okay, thank you, Ashashin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I know. You're the real Marxist. Okay?
So this really even highlights more. Yeah, I have not heard that either, Pam. This is new information, and obviously this all came up during the NYPD and the FBI's investigation when they were probably going through his computer and his phone and his email. But this is just so striking that he emailed, this is how long he had been planning this. And this tells you his frame of mind, that he emailed United Healthcare leadership saying, posing as a $15 billion manager of an investment fund to learn where he was.
I just want to go to Ariva on some of this information coming out of the courtroom today from Luigi Mangione. For the first time, I'm learning, and Jamon said he hadn't heard it as well, that Luigi Mangione posed as an investor with a firm and just reached out via email to the insurance company and then received a response within an hour. And that is what helped lead him to Brian Thompson, where he said, I shot him and he died. I knew what I did was illegal. Wow, Ariva.
Yeah, that's a shocking detail, Pam. I remember early on when this case came to light, when all of the publicity, we had all the reports, and I just remember the people who were supporting Mangione, who were glorifying what he did, who were making him out to be some kind of martyr. And it was really sickening at that time. And now to hear the deception involved, how he found out about that meeting, which was otherwise not a public meeting, that individuals who had not been invited wouldn't have even had access to that CEO. And he used, he posed as this manager of this large fund to get that information and then to stalk Brian Thompson, to show up at that meeting, to shoot him in broad daylight on a street in Manhattan, just makes the nature of this crime even more heinous. And I just hope all those people who somehow thought that this was an act of courage now understand what a heinous act of cowardness this was. Again, my heart goes out to the family that had to hear this, but hopefully this begins some kind of...
I feel like it's worth examination as to why there are definitely broad swaths of the public who aren't like bloodthirsty murderers or would never endorse murder, and why their attitude is very different than the way that we're hearing from corporate media. Like, is it not worth an examination at all? Is it not worth an examination at all? Because they would do this for anything else. You know what I mean? The media loves when there's like a fascinating aspect of like a serial killer. They'll cover endlessly, the Charles Manson supporters and like try to figure out why people love Charles Manson, because that's not dangerous. That's not dangerous to the pre-existing hierarchies. Okay? Because that's a one-off, right? That's a one-off. This, on the other hand, points to a broad systemic crisis. So, of course, there's no conversation about why so many people don't actually feel this way, right? They'll do it for Ted Kaczynski. They'll do it for Charles Manson followers. I'm not making a comparison between like what Luigi Mangione allegedly did versus Charles Manson. I'm just simply saying, like, there's a reason for why the media that normally is very invested in understanding the fascinating psychology behind why certain serial killers develop a cult of personality, but they would never in a million years explore why so many millions of Americans actually see this very differently than the way they're presenting it.
Closure for them. That sentencing hearing that will take place in December will give them an opportunity to present impact statements and to talk about how horrific the loss of Mr. Thompson has been for this family. Again, we talk about the state court. At this point, Pamela, you can only imagine that this is about where he's going to serve time, because it is clear that he is going to get a life sentence, whether it's from this federal court or if he is convicted in state court. And the lawyers are jockeying now to determine, does that life sentence happen in a federal prison or in a state prison? But certain that he is going to spend the rest of his life in prison, as he should, for the admission that he just made in that courtroom today.
All right, Michael Smerconish is actually standing by and wants to get in this conversation. Michael, what are your thoughts?
I want to follow up something Ariva said about the perverse nature, the way in which some have received this horrific murder. On 54th Street, where this transpired, the hotel where Brian Thompson spent his last night is a hotel where I would often stay when working for SiriusXM and CNN. And I remember being on that block in the immediate aftermath, 2 or 3 days later. What was surreal is the fact that there were no candles. There were no flowers. There was no memorial for Brian Thompson. And what I remember is that on a telephone pole that was adjacent to the murder scene, I saw something that depicted Luigi Mangione as a saint. You might remember that there were wanted posters that were then put up in that neighborhood for other corporate leaders. And all of the glamour and panache that has surrounded this man, I just find twisted and tragic. And I can only hope that the way in which now he has just articulated exactly what he did is going to change minds, maybe not, but of those people that have glamorized this killer. I can say killer now without any fear of.
So here's the other side of the story. It's like, you can keep slamming murder is bad over and over again, but you're not making a broader point that people disagree with. Like, of course, wow, a brave take. You know what I mean? Brave take, guys. Murder is bad. I had no idea. Like, yeah, no shit. No shit. I don't know. I just don't understand why no one, and I mean no one, wants to explore something beyond simply saying over and over again that murder is bad, immoral, evil, wrong. Everybody fucking understands that, dude. That's kind of the point.
Of contradiction because of what he has said. And one other observation I'd make is what a sin that we all couldn't watch.
Here, I'll give you one other fucking comparison here, okay? Every single time, if it's systemic violence or if it's state violence, the media takes a very different tone, a very different attitude, right? ICE murders Renee Good. ICE murders Alex Peretti. And all of a sudden, it's, well, you know, the government called them terrorists. That's wrong probably, but, you know, maybe they had a good reason for it, okay? This is not a justification of Luigi Mangione's actions. I want to repeat that one more time. But from the perspective of the average American that has had to deal with this shit, okay, they see it as murder as well. When someone cannot pay for their health care, when someone cannot pay for their health care and they watch their loved ones die as a consequence, they don't look at that and go, oh, well, sucks to suck. That's just a byproduct of the capitalist system. Sucks to suck. That's totally valid. Sorry, my grandmother should have grinded harder. They don't think like that. Okay? They think that's a death that did not have to happen. That's murder. And because this has happened so many fucking times, according to the new Yale study, 114,000 times a year, that's 114,000 families that have suffered from murder. They don't analyze it as well, this is a byproduct of the system. I should have worked harder. My grandparents should have worked harder. They should have just not gotten cancer. You know what I mean? They see it as these people should not have died. My loved ones in their final moments should have had peace. And instead, all they knew was even more pain.
Cameras in courtrooms all across the United States, including federal courtrooms and including the Supreme Court of the United States.
Yeah, I am with you on that, Michael Smerconish. Our Kara Scannell just came outside of that courtroom. Kara, you were there for every second of what went down. Tell us about it.
Well, Pamela, Luigi Mangione was led into the courtroom. He's wearing a beige prison outfit, escorted by 2 U.S. Marshals, where he sat down between his attorneys. The judge went through the process asking him if he understood his rights, if he had taken any medication, if he was under any medical care. All of his answers were crisp and clear, someone who was definitely in control and aware of what was going on today. And then when she started to ask him the specifics of his guilty plea, to explain what he had done that was wrong, Mangione chose to stay seated, and he started to read from a piece of paper. The judge actually stopped him and asked him to slow down because he was going too quickly through it. But a few things that stood out to me from what he said is he started it by saying, after years of enduring severe pain for a broken back, navigating obstacles in the healthcare system. So underscoring again what his motive here in this case is. And he walked through it saying another thing, he's underscoring what he had previously written about in those writings, the greed of the healthcare industry. He said he had emailed United Healthcare's leadership trying to find out about the specific location of the investor conference where he was targeting Brian Thompson. He said he claimed to have $50 billion in assets. And he said, like, unlike his other previous interactions with the healthcare industry, he got a response immediately within an hour. Then he went on to explain that he had made a gun using a 3D printer, that he had obtained a silencer, and then he said he traveled to New York with the intent to shoot Brian Thompson. He said, I knew what I was doing was illegal. He did not say it was wrong.
Defense attorneys are now at the microphones. Let's listen.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Karen Friedman-Agnifilo, and I represent Luigi Mangione. Today is a solemn and significant day. With today's guilty plea, Mr. Mangione has accepted full responsibility for the death of Brian Thompson, arising from the events of December 4th, 2024, outside of the United Healthcare Investor Conference here in Midtown Manhattan. It was a single...
To me, all this feels like a plan. I mean, it is. It is 100%. Like, the way that people are going to utilize this is they're going to weaponize anyone that says, like, oh, it was awesome or whatever. And they're going to use that to slam it against, like, advocates of Medicare for all. 100%. I'm just letting you guys know. So if you're not disciplined in this moment, if you think you can make jokes or anything like that, sorry, you can't. The knives are out. And abso-fucking-lutely 1 million times over, they are going to utilize this opportunity. They are going to utilize this opportunity in mainstream media and corporate media to get everyone to shut the fuck up. Okay? It's a classic case. It's a classic case. You are not allowed to say anything about this beyond murder is bad and wrong. Everybody understands that reality, by the way, but, you know, it doesn't even matter. They will present you as pro-murder, pro-death, pro-destruction. You want to kill all the capitalists, blah, 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 whatever the fuck they can get. Okay? So you just have to, you have to be very careful with how you communicate around this issue. They are probably in here already that are actively looking to see what they can clip out of context and then tie back to be like, oh, Hasan Piker endorses this action. Hasan Piker loves this action. What do all the people who have campaigned with Hasan Piker have to say about that, you know?
Single tragic event, yet he's being prosecuted twice for the same conduct. As Luigi explained in court today, he endured years of severe, debilitating pain following a broken back while struggling to navigate our healthcare and health insurance systems. Like the thousands of people who've reached out since this tragedy to share their own experiences, he believed that the system had failed him and destroyed his life. Despite this being a single isolated event, Mr. Mangione has been unfairly treated since the outset in every way and has successfully fought off terrorism charges and the death penalty, while also fighting at the same time 2 simultaneous prosecutions in 2 jurisdictions who are trying to punish him twice for the exact conduct. He's been treated differently from every other defendant charged with this offense in New York. However, thankfully, New York law does not allow this. New York law does not permit a person to be prosecuted and punished twice for the exact same crime under a statute that governs successive prosecutions. It's also known as the double jeopardy law. Today's guilty plea triggers this statute, and we just filed our motion in state court explaining why the state charges must be dismissed under New York's double jeopardy protections. We will not be taking any other questions. Thank you so much for coming.
Okay, let me go back to Kara and Shimon. I do want to talk about some of the details of what Luigi Mangione admitted in court, but just to explain what we just heard from his attorneys, Kara, and you have been talking about this, one of the reasons why they decided to go ahead and have this plea deal is so that the charges in New York State could be dropped because of what's known as the double jeopardy law in New York State.
That's right, Dana. That was one of the objectives today by Luigi Mangione's team. He was being charged both federally and in state court, and the state trial was set to begin on September 8th. But under New York's double jeopardy law, someone can't be prosecuted for the same crime twice. So that is why we saw this quick, fast-moving plea deal being reached just a few days after the final pretrial conference earlier this week, leading to Mangione pleading guilty. Now, as you heard his lawyer say, they filed a motion to get the state charges dismissed. The state prosecution has not responded to that yet, although throughout this entire case, they have been saying that they think they did the legwork on this, they did the investigation, they caught Mangione, and they wanted to bring this case to justice. So we will wait and see what their reaction is going to be in court. We can expect them to probably try to fight this. It will be up to the judge overseeing the state case to make that decision, and then sides could appeal. But it does look like the state trial set for September 8th will likely be delayed as this is all figured out. But these are still a lot of moving targets, Dana.
Okay, so
Jessica Tisch at the scene of the crime. That is the police commissioner, Police Commish Tisch. Jay Mershon says the strategy here from Luigi's team is to get the state case thrown out because New York State has very strong protections against the dual sovereign double jeopardy doctrine. They even filed a motion to dismiss in the state court today. You can read that here. Zoran's fave? Yeah.
Good afternoon. I'm Jamie McDonald, United States Attorney for the Southern District of New York. At 6:45 on a December morning, Luigi Mangione stalked and murdered Brian Thompson in cold blood on a public sidewalk in Midtown Manhattan. Just a few moments ago, Mangione pled guilty to his heinous act. This was not a spontaneous act of violence. It was deliberate, calculated, and premeditated. In the days leading up to the murder, the defendant very carefully prepared for the attack. He tracked Mr. Thompson's whereabouts, conducted surveillance along the route he knew Mr. Thompson would take, and positioned himself to carry out the plan. Then, on a sidewalk on West 54th Street, the defendant murdered Mr. Thompson, shooting him from behind with a 9mm handgun equipped with a silencer. He shot Thompson twice at close range. The second shot came as Mr. Thompson turned and faced the defendant. The defendant did this as everyday New Yorkers walked nearby, and while the rest of the city woke up to start their day. Mangione then ran away, leaving Mr. Thompson to die. The defendant committed this attempt to draw public attention to his dislike of certain businesses. But we live in a civilized society governed by the rule of law. We debate, we disagree, we protest. We do not commit murder. No grievance, political belief, or ideological cause can ever justify murder. There can be no celebrity in assassination. Any person who celebrates, encourages, or excuses actions like these is fundamentally wrong. Mangione attempted to send a public message through violence, but the message that emerges today is very different. Violence is not a legitimate instrument to promote any political or social message. And those who resort to violence in an effort to advance their beliefs will be prosecuted, convicted, and put in jail. Today, the Southern District of New York, together with our law enforcement partners, writes the final chapter of Mangione's federal prosecution. Now, he stands convicted in federal court and faces life in prison. One other point that's important to note. While the defendant pled guilty, our office does not have a plea agreement with him. Instead, he pled open, which means he pled guilty to all pending counts in the indictment. There are no accommodations or concessions, and we are free to seek the maximum penalty under the law. I'd like to thank the dedicated prosecutors of our office's Violent Organizations and Crime Unit, who are beside me, for their remarkable efforts to bring this case. I would also like to thank the NYPD and the FBI, whose tireless and incredibly sophisticated investigative efforts made this conviction possible. Finally, I want to express on behalf of all of us here our deepest sympathy and compassion for the many family members and friends of Brian Thompson. Mr. Thompson's family and many of his friends were in court for the guilty plea today. I know they will have an opportunity to be heard at sentencing. We all stand in awe of their love for their family and for their friend, and their unwavering commitment to seeing justice done in this case. We hope they can take some solace in the fact that from the beginning, we have brought the full force of the federal government to bear in this case. In this prosecution, we have consistently pursued the maximum penalties under the law as necessary and just punishment for these crimes. The result achieved today now allows our office to seek the maximum penalty allowed, life imprisonment, which, as I've conveyed to Mr. Thompson's family, is what we intend to seek. I'll now turn it over to Commissioner Tisch.
Good afternoon. Thank you, U.S. Attorney McDonald, and thank you to the prosecutors and the federal law enforcement partners who have worked alongside the New York City Police Department throughout this case. Today, Luigi Mangione pleaded guilty in connection with the murder of Brian Thompson on a Midtown Manhattan sidewalk in December of 2024. This is an important moment of accountability, and my thoughts remain first and foremost with Mr. Thompson's family and everyone who knew and loved him. But I also want to take a few minutes today to recognize the extraordinary police work that brought us here. From the moment that Mr. Thompson was assassinated on the morning of December 4th, the NYPD mobilized an enormous investigative effort. Our detectives combed through thousands of hours of surveillance video, followed up on hundreds of tips, and worked through.
I mean, that literally, it's just, they make it seem as though this was a byproduct of good police work, but like, they literally couldn't catch him. He got away. It was a McDonald's employee in a different state. A McDonald's employee in a different state that was like, wait, isn't that the fucking guy, Luigi Mangione? That's it. That's literally it. So the idea that like, the idea that they and their diligent police work is what was responsible for capturing Luigi Mangione, I'm sorry. That's a little bit crazy.
Through an extraordinary volume of
it's kind of wild that
and digital evidence.
It's also kind of wild that the person who snitched didn't even get the money.
They use some of the most sophisticated technology available to law enforcement, and they paired it with the kind of painstaking, old-fashioned detective work that has defined the New York City Police Department for generations, interviewing witnesses, canvassing neighborhoods, retracing the suspects' movements, and pursuing every viable lead. Most importantly, they developed a clear image of the man we were looking for and got that image out to the public and to law enforcement agencies across this country 5 days after the murder. That work paid off in Altoona, Pennsylvania, where an alert member of the public recognized Mangione, and local police took him into custody. That was not simply a lucky break. It was the culmination of 5 days of relentless investigative work that gave the public the information it needed to recognize the suspect and gave our law enforcement partners what they needed to act. This case began with the worst kind of violence. It was answered by the very best of the New York City Police Department. To every member of the NYPD who played a role in this investigation, you should be enormously proud for bringing us to this day. And to those who idolize Luigi Mangione, I say this: violence is not a cause, murder is not a message, and a killer is certainly not a hero. Now I'd like to introduce the FBI's Assistant Director in Charge for the New York Field Office, Jim Barnacle.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good day. My name is James Barnacle. I'm the Assistant Director in Charge of the FBI New York Field Office. I want to begin by addressing the family, friends, and colleagues of Brian Thompson. We had the chance to sit down with the family.
SpongeBob ass name. I'm sorry. James Barnacle. Okay, Officer Barnacle. What's next? Oh, we got John Plankton coming up right after.
This morning, and they are still grieving, and they have been grieving for almost 2 years as Brian was taken away in the most heinous way possible. They lost a son, a brother, a husband, and a father, and a friend to many colleagues and other people. Family deserves closure, the clarity, and the assurance that every step taken throughout our investigation, the New York City Police Department's investigation, the Altoona Police Department's investigation, and the U.S. Attorney's Office prosecution reflected the gravity of the situation and the importance of Brian's life. While today's plea doesn't replace the void he left behind, I hope it offers a glimmer of the closure that the Thompson family and friends deserve. This tragedy shocked the nation and left a deep impact on everyone it touched. Violence driven by hostility toward opportunity and success stands in sharp contrast to the values true Americans hold dear. But rest assured, this FBI and our partners never stopped working to bring this killer to justice. While a plea was entered today, we know the crime has not been erased. To the FBI's Violent Crime Task Force, our largest partner on that task force, the New York City Police Department, the New York State Police Department. Thank you to the prosecutors and the United States Attorney's Office for the Southern District of...
I think the other reason why obviously this is such a high profile case is because of his status, right? And therefore they have to really stress over and over again, like, you know, this is, don't even fucking get any thoughts. Like, cause like, obviously when a poor person gets slaughtered in the streets, they don't close Manhattan, right? Like they don't do a 10-day search or anything like that. I mean, they're still incompetent all the same, whether it's a poor person or a rich person that gets killed. But there's a reason why they were in a panic state after this, and they created like a CEO hotline. I don't know if you guys remember, but there's also a similar reason as to why the government came down pretty aggressively against like people who were even remotely sympathetic or came across as sympathetic to Luigi Mangione and like insurance denial calls. Like there was the case with that woman in Florida that straight up, I think, is going to prison. Like the point of this is to be like, don't even think about it, right? Like that's why they're so aggressively posturing here. I, for one, find it rather interesting, rather strange that, you know, did they drop her charges? I thought that she was actually getting penalty. Yeah, they straight up created a crisis hotline for CEOs at the time. Kathy Hochul did. New York State officials considering creating a special hotline exclusively for CEOs to report perceived threats. I mean, I myself am, of course, a CEO, and I get death threats with regular frequency. I would like to report them, but they just seemingly don't care. It was a very, very interesting time because I think like some of the companies very quickly stopped. Their approvals went up. Like their insurance claim approvals went up instantly after this. Once again, I'm not an advocate of the propaganda of the deed. Hasan, check out the replies under your X post from today. Which one? When someone says X post, I'm always a little disturbed by that. It's like when someone doesn't use Twitter and says X post, I'm like, that's strange.
New York, led by Jamie McDonald. Thank you.
Yeah, CEOs remove their photos from their websites online.
Thank the officers and detectives of the New York City Police Department, led by Commissioner Tisch, for your agency's unwavering pursuit of truth and accountability. Thank you, Commissioner. I'd also like to thank the Altoona Police Department in Pennsylvania and the Pennsylvania Department of Corrections, who helped facilitate the extradition to New York. We're incredibly grateful to our partners, and we wish the Thompson family comfort and strength as the legal process continues. Mr. McDonald.
Thank you. Thank you all. Be sure to like and subscribe for all the...
Oh, this is a divisive subject. There's a lot of debate. There's never a debate. It's the same with Israel, right? Like people obviously have made up their minds on the issue and the politicians don't listen to them because there's no real like theoretical democracy. There's no debate on the matter. The people are united and the corporations get their wishes across regardless, and those who defend those corporations get their wishes across regardless.
Our main story tonight concerns surveillance. You know, the thing that this pervert does all year long. He sees you when you're sleeping, he knows when you're jacking it to the Gilded Age. Specifically, we're going to look at police surveillance technology. It takes many forms, from cameras to facial recognition to even this.
The robot itself was given the name HP RoboCop for Huntington Park. It's, rather a futuristic piece of equipment that essentially is a sophisticated, current-time, high-definition camera system.
Please help keep the park clean.
So initially, there was some negative sort of reaction to the robot. The robot was vandalized and it was tipped over.
Yeah, of course it was, because look at it. It's a glorified Roomba that knocks. And did you hear its voice there? I don't think it was possible to create a dweebier robot than this virgin, but enter stage left, the police egg. It's got the body of a weeble and the voice of a hall monitor, and it's okay for me to say that because same. The police love using surveillance tech, and in recent years, the prevalence of local mass surveillance systems has exploded thanks to cheaper technology and increased funding from the federal government. And this all tends to get presented as a boon to public safety. Local news loves to cover cities' real-time crime centres. Here's a story about...
Someone said Stephen Chung. He do be looking like Stephen Chung.
One in Las Vegas. Here is one in Detroit. And here's one in Cooper City, Florida. And in that story, the town's then mayor offered this upbeat assessment.
Everyone is being watched. And if you're doing nothing wrong, doesn't matter what you're doing. But when you're doing something wrong, we're going to find out. We're going to have the wherewithal to come and get you. We've got essentially Big Brother on steroids.
Okay.
Wow. What a sell.
I'm not sure that's quite the sell he seems to think it is. For one thing, Big Brother is pretty famously not the hero of 1984. But the truth is, a lot of the technologies that feed into those centres have significant problems, from civil liberties issues to the way that more recently they've been weaponised to target immigrants. And it feels like we're now at a point where there needs to be much...
And people who are getting an abortion out of state. So that's the other side of the story, too.
More awareness of what is actually out there. So given that, tonight, we thought we'd do something a bit different and try to give you a field guide for some of the most common surveillance tools, specifically cameras, microphones, license plate readers, cell site simulators, and the practice of predictive policing that combines all of them to make that Big Brother on steroids line true in all the worst ways. And let's start with cameras. You've undoubtedly seen police surveillance cameras all over the place, and the case for them is pretty simple. Here is a police officer in New Orleans where cops have access to over 2,000 cameras pitching the upside.
We had a at this very intersection, like 4:30 in the morning, of the gentleman that got shot, claimed to be the victim. We watched the video surveillance, went back, and it showed that he was actually at the young man first. So it kind of, helped us exonerate the guy we were looking for. And
And if you didn't have the camera, do you think you would have known the truth?
No, absolutely not.
Wait, why not? What, dog, how did people solve crimes in the past? My man said, obviously, we have no capability of doing police work. What do you mean?
Really? Because if that's true, that sounds less like an argument for cameras than it is an argument against you. Because you basically just admitted there, we couldn't do all until we got them video doodads. But the thing is, police don't just use cameras to find evidence of something that happened. They can also use them to fish for crimes that they think might. Essentially, using them as a digital form of stop and frisk. Staying in New Orleans, take the case of Michael Celestine, who police there accosted after they watched him walking around in a puffy jacket. You can see them zoom the camera in on him and track his movements for 15 minutes. And their justification for doing that is that they claim he had a suspicious bulge in his jacket, which is already a weird thing to be on the lookout for in a state which allows for concealed carry. But an even weirder thing to do when the whole idea behind puffer jackets is that they bulge. It is quite literally the puff part. Puffer jackets are essentially fashion bubble wrap. Babes, read a Vogue. The police ultimately chased and then arrested and tased Celestine before finding a weapon in his pants leg, only for the DA to ultimately drop all charges. But because he happened to be out on parole, he wasn't allowed to make bail and had to sit in jail for a year. And it's worth noting that police aren't just limited to using their own surveillance cameras. Increasingly, they're able to use those owned by private businesses or homeowners. There are an estimated 85 million in this country, and police now routinely request access to them. In fact, here is an ad from one company that facilitates that, Fusus, explaining to businesses how it works.
Setting up Fusus is fast, requires minimal hardware, and has no activation fees. In an investigation, police can automatically request footage from all nearby businesses at the click of a button. And camera owners can securely share recorded as well as live video feeds to aid in the investigation.
Yeah, it's that easy. With the click of a button, police can get access.
I mean, this is literally one step removed, and it's going to eventually happen. But this is literally one step removed from the federal government and federal law enforcement basically being able to access your camera on your phone or on your laptop without you knowing about it. They already have the function, they already have the capability, and they already do it. But this is basically like legalizing that process, because that's insane. That is insane.
To hours of private security footage. Look, technology has made a lot of things easy to do with the click of a button, like order medicine, pay bills, or buy this inexplicable wall decal of a senior woman with asthma, or one of that same woman wielding a frying pan as a weapon, or a decal of Dr. Phil as an M&M. Add all three to your cart, and now you've got a home worthy of Architectural Digest. Technology is amazing, but it does feel like turning on the panopticon should be a bit harder than that. And it doesn't stop there. Fusus has gone so far as developing technology that allows Amazon's Ring doorbells to live stream straight to police crime centres, which is a pretty wild use of something that I mainly associate with bringing us videos of animals who just want to come inside. Minute, it's cold out here and you've got treats in there. And while some businesses or homeowners might want to do that, in other places they're not given much of a choice. Rialto, California has made starting a business contingent on signing up with Fusus, with permits containing language like the security cameras shall be accessible to the Rialto Police Department through Fusus. And come on! Opening a small business is already hard enough. There's cash flow issues, hiring and firing, and of course, dealing with Yelp reviews that say, woman at the front desk had a weird eye, scared my son, he is 9! But now, you also have to decide if opening your nail salon is worth being a narc on passers-by. But it's not just cameras being dotted all over the place, it's also microphones, like the ones operated by a company called ShotSpotter. It's used in over 200 jurisdictions. The way ShotSpotter works is it basically sets up microphones all over a city, which alert police if they sense a loud noise that could be a shot. And some places treat ShotSpotter as highly reliable. In Houston, their department doesn't dispatch officers for all 911 calls about gunfire, but they treat every ShotSpotter alert as a top priority report. One officer even said, no matter what other call you're on, if a ShotSpotter alert drops, you go. Unfortunately, the technology seems nowhere near as good as you'd want it to be for that kind of response. An AP investigation found the systems can miss live gunfire right under its microphones or misclassify the sounds of fireworks as shots, while other reportings found ShotSpotter being activated by cars backfiring or even people using a nail gun, which is not good. You don't want hyped-up cops showing up weapons drawn because Dad finally got around to putting up the Christmas lights. And there have been cases of people searched and arrested for things like drug possession simply because ShotSpotter sent police to their location. So its inaccuracy can cause real problems. And the evidence it actually prevents crime...
Because every aspect of this is busted. Obviously, the police, when they come on the scene, are an unbelievably violent force, too, because they're heavily militarized. They're untrained, or rather, they're not trained for de-escalation, but to escalate. So when they pull up guns drawn, they often use them.
Is scant. In fact, when a local news team in Minneapolis looked into nearly 2 years' worth of results from its ShotSpotter system, the results were dire.
The data reveals during that time, MPD responded to ShotSpotter activations roughly 8,500 times. The data also shows about 80% of the time, officers documented no evidence of a gun-related crime. And only 32 activations total led to an arrest. That's less than 1% of the time.
That percentage there is that's insane. That's crazy.
He's right. It is crazy, and while this is not the point, I do think that man should be asked for comment on literally every news story. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson and his son monitor each other's intake.
That's crazy.
It is. Reba McEntire partnered with 40 farms to make corn mazes out of her face.
That's crazy.
I agree. 500,000 Italians seek exorcisms every year.
That percentage there is that's insane. That's crazy.
Yeah, my thoughts exactly. The point is, it sure seems like a technology this flawed shouldn't be dispatching police all over a city. And there is a similar issue with our next technology, automated license plate readers, or ALPRs. You've probably seen them by the side of the road, and cops will claim that they're a way to find stolen cars or those engaged in suspicious activity. The most popular are made by a company called Flock, and here is how they work.
Flock license plate readers don't just scan tags looking for stolen cars or vehicles on a hot list. The cameras take a photo of every car that passes, stamped with the precise time and location. The more cameras you pass, the clearer the picture of your movements. All of that data is saved in a database for 30 days, shared with connected police departments, allowing the government to go back in time to see where your car was and when. No warrant required, whether you're suspected of a crime or not.
OK, first, the Oscar for cinematography goes to that news piece. Drone shots, drive-in talks, and a license plate close-up that'll make Tarantino bust both nuts? Call the Academy, the race is officially over. The point is, though, ALPRs will send up a lot of alerts, but unfortunately, many are false alarms. A randomized trial in Vallejo, California, found that 37% of all ALPR hits from fixed readers, like those attached to a streetlight, and 35% from mobile ALPRs, like those on cop cars, were misreads, which is an astonishingly high error rate, and that has had real consequences. Drivers have been repeatedly pulled over because a reader read the numbers on their plates wrong and tagged the vehicles as stolen. And some of those incidents have been truly hideous, like this one, where the police wrongly assumed that a car full of children was stolen. I'll warn you, this is hard to watch.
There's kids. It's these cries and screams Brittany Gilliam can't bring herself to relive.
That's terrifying. As a parent, that's heartbreaking.
Gilliam says she was searching for an open nail salon while sitting in a parking lot on Bucklet and Iliff in Aurora.
And she's screaming like, hey, hey, auntie, the police.
When officers pulled up from behind.
They got their guns on us. They got their guns on us.
Gilliam was in the SUV with her 6-year-old daughter, 12-year-old sister, and 2 nieces, one 14, the other 17 years old. Police say a license plate reader alerted them the SUV was stolen.
Yeah, that is obviously terrible, and you already know that the police are not ready for just how dumb that fuck-up was.
It turns out the stolen vehicle was actually a motorcycle, not Gilliam's SUV. Both vehicles share the plate number, but they were from different states.
Yeah, it was a motorcycle from another state. And the only thing that could be further from an SUV in Colorado would be if the license actually belonged to a horse in Tennessee. And look, so far, I've been focusing on when police technology gets stuff actively wrong. But it is worth remembering, even when these systems work...
Look, I'm unconditionally against the surveillance state. The panopticon really bothers me. But I will say this. There'd probably be a lot less critics. Lol, not even 30K viewers. You're going downhill, you terrorists. Yeah. There would be a lot less criticisms about this kind of stuff if cops like generally did their jobs. If they served their regular law enforcement function, I think there would be a lot of people who would be frustrated by it, right? It's so ironic that dude said not even 30K and it's literally at 30K, by the way, but that's besides the point. But cops also don't serve that basic law enforcement function at all because everybody wants crimes to be solved, right? Everybody wants crimes to be fucking solved. So if cops were like actually capable of retrieving stolen assets by way of flock cameras like with regular frequency, then I think people would probably be more sympathetic to the fucking surveillance state. The problem is they're also dog shit. They're just so bad at their jobs.
Perfectly. They can still be wildly invasive. Cameras and license plate readers can track your movements wherever you go, which means they could find out if you, say, attended a protest or visited an abortion clinic. What's more, some companies like Flock make a feature out of the fact that their databases can be accessed by not just your local police, but also by those from other towns. And on top of all that, the federal government, meaning agencies like ICE and Border Patrol, has been known to use this network. Flock used to make arrangements with them to do so directly, but has since discontinued that, though the government is still able to use the network through local law enforcement. And while all of that is already comfortably bad enough, other technologies can be even more invasive. Take cell site simulators. They are devices with names like Stingray, and they allow cops to basically snoop on any phone that is near them.
Here's how it works. Cell phones are always trying to connect to nearby cell towers.
Yeah, good thing that the Trump administration actually purchased this for ICE. Yeah, this one's a nightmare. Also, then you have Pegasus. Like, there's varying degrees of this shit. There's varying degrees of this. Obviously, Stingray is, like, unbelievably invasive, but Pegasus is obviously the worst.
A Stingray acts like a cell...
Hey, Melon. Thank you for the raid, brother.
...tower decoy. In what's called a man-in-the-middle attack, it tricks cell phones into thinking it's the nearest cell tower. Phones connect to the Stingray, and police can access a range of personal information. But they don't just get intel on one phone. Every phone nearby is forced to divert to the Stingray. Calls are passed on to a real cell tower. Data scooped up stays with police.
Yeah, not great, right? I don't want a decoy cell tower getting any of my cell phone data, because what you do on your cell phone is your most personal of business. Your laptop, that is for buying plane tickets or making an Excel spreadsheet or browsing Civil War maps at the Library of Congress. You know, business shit. But your cell phone, that's for your most depraved behaviours. That's for sexting or a photo of a rash you want to show your doctor. It's for a phone note that just reads, young Gaddafi handsome, and some saved photos that emphatically answer that question again and again. Good Lord, those things need to go to the grave.
Okay. Respect. Didn't know it was like that. You'll be shocked to learn Flock's biggest investor is Andreessen Horowitz, who's an early seed investor in the Free Press, both in 2021, which is oddly not disclosed in this segment. This is straight up infomercial. Looking forward to CBS News Properties doing commercials for other Andreessen Horowitz products.
Do you ever feel like you're being watched? That's the panic behind a new fear sweeping across America. People are freaked out about surveillance. From our employers, our nanny cams, and our phones watching our every move. And right now, this anxiety is being taken out with electric saws and cans of spray paint on tools used by law enforcement to keep us all safe. The target?
Bro, these people are so wild, dude. I mean, what do you say to this? It is quite, God, it's such a cliche to say this, but it is quite literally. 1847 Animal Factory, brother. George Orwell. I mean, this is, I don't know. Am I crazy? I feel like this is insanely authoritarian. Like, we have rules. We are supposed to have protections against unwarranted surveillance. Nope. Warrantless surveillance is now fine.
Flock safety cameras. In upstate New York, someone...
Wait, the mere fact that we're discussing this in critical terms puts us as anti-tech extremists, by the way, just so you know. That's the other thing. that the Trump administration has decided is also on the terrorism watch list. I mean, the terrorism watch list nowadays for the Trump administration, according to the NSPM 7 list, is basically just being a HasanAbi head. They should just say, like, you know, are you a HasanAbi head? Then you're going to jail.
Block safety camera with an electric saw. In Oakland, California, another was covered in paint. And in Idaho, someone rammed one with their truck. And in good old Florida, a man just sits in his lawn chair with a cardboard held up for the lens. Since January, roughly 23 cities have canceled their contracts or shut off their flock camera over Fourth Amendment concerns. There's even an open source intelligence website, DFlock, that's finding these cameras so people know exactly where to vandalize them. Here's what's actually under attack.
Here's what's actually under attack. The profit margins, the state's function to surveil you without warrants. That's what's actually under attack. I'm here to tell you that's a bad thing. We have to make sure that the state can engage in warrantless surveillance at all times at direct odds with the Fourth Amendment.
2025 alone, the system helped locate 10,000 missing people, about 27 people a day, or about one every hour. Over 40% of agencies said Flock helped recover over half of the stolen vehicles in their jurisdiction. In Indiana, an infant abducted at a shopping center was found in under 2 hours. In Ohio, a missing girl was located in under 30 minutes. And this is the tool that people are treating like the enemy. It is fair to have concerns about how companies use and track our data, but that's not what these cameras are for. To be blunt, they're not interested in you, unless you're a kidnapper, a thief, or someone who intends.
Dude, this is always the argument. This is always the argument. It's always, oh, it's not for you if you're not doing any crimes. Okay, what happens when tomorrow things that weren't considered crimes today are considered crimes? I mean, that's literally happening right now. So is this lady AI? I don't think so. It did come across like AI to me, but yeah, nothing to hide, nothing to fear. That's what they always say.
Cell site simulators are a mass surveillance tool, and police can get a lot from them, from who you are calling to what you are texting. And the thing is, we don't know how often they do that because generally law enforcement keeps a tight lid on its usage of these devices. In fact, for decades, the FBI's imposed secrecy obligations on state and local agencies, making them sign NDAs to prevent disclosure of any information about the devices to the public. And some police departments have found some pretty creative ways to hide their usage of these simulators. One in Florida advised officers when using data obtained with them to just describe it as information from a confidential source regarding the location of the suspect. And if you're thinking right now, well, maybe cops need devices like these for dire situations. What if there's a kidnapping or a bomb threat? You should know that is in no way all they get used for, because once cops get a new toy, they tend to find lots of excuses to use it. In at least one instance, Stingray tech was used to try and track down someone who stole 15 chicken wings and 3 sub sandwiches. And look, if you do that and you get away so effectively, police have to use a high-tech cell site simulator to find you. I think you've technically earned those fucking wings. And look, I know I've already thrown a lot of programs at you tonight, but it's important to remember that they don't necessarily work in isolation. They can all feed into real-time crime centres like the ones you saw earlier. And some departments can then use all the data fed into them to engage in our final and maybe dumbest use of this tech. It's called predictive policing. Basically, using all that data to figure out which areas or individuals...
Literally Minority Report. It's Minority Report!
...might be likely sources of crime. Think Minority Report, but instead of 3 pale orphans hanging out in goo, it's a bunch of bland-looking computers. Santa Cruz was one of the first big...
Shit looks like the ADL Hate Crime Database Center. ADL Hate Crime Headquarters, that's what it looks like.
...cities to launch predictive policing back in 2011 after developing it with the help of a local university. And it was promoted at the time like this.
Assistant professor of mathematics at the University of Santa Clara compares this kind of repetitive crime to earthquakes. The initial crime is the first tremor. Subsequent crimes follow like aftershocks.
What you might think of as after crimes, crimes triggered by an initial event. And what we can do with this model is create maps.
Maps of when and where police should direct their efforts.
We put that into the software program. It produces results in a very simple, easy-to-use Google Map format that we can then provide to the officers to tell them when and where to be on any given day.
OK, so first, before you say anything, I know, we all see it. No need to dwell on it. He is pure sex. Everyone agrees. End of story. Let it all out. There was a lot of hype around what Santa Cruz did at the time. Time magazine even called its predictive policing one of the 50 best new inventions of 2011, along with, and this is true, the Boeing 787. I guess it's true what they say. When you're at the top, there's simply no place to go but up in flames. And since then, other cities have rolled it out, including LA, Atlanta, Philadelphia.
So cops are losing their jobs to AI, buddy. There's one group, if there's one profession in this country that's not losing their jobs to AI, is cops and CEOs. Okay? You fucking kidding me? At the end of the day, Capitol will always need a military force, a domestic military force to crack skulls. AI can't do that yet.
Chicago, and St. Louis. And some police departments have applied predictive policing with the exact opposite of a light touch. In Pasco County, Florida,
and politicians.
Sheriff's Department used it to compile a list of top 5 offenders and other suspects, many of them teenagers, based on arrest histories, unspecified intelligence, and arbitrary decisions by police analysts. Cops would then constantly visit and question those offenders about their activities, filing reports with details like, of one kid on their list, he has cut his hair, which is now short. He advised after the summer break he will be going to 9th grade. And he claims not to be associating with any of his old friends. And that is some crackerjack police work right there, buddy. This just in, local teen trying out new vibe this school year. And see just how ridiculous this got. Take the case of a kid called Rio, a 15-year-old boy who'd had one arrest for stealing motorised bicycles with a friend. He'd been placed on probation and had a probation officer checking up on him. But a year after he was sentenced, the computer inexplicably placed him on that top 5 list. And suddenly the police were constantly turning up to his house. The Tampa Bay Times actually pulled body camera footage of those interactions, and it is just relentless.
Why am I on the top 5 of me
Give me your phone. It's not about your charge. It's about your. It goes deeper than that. It's about your network, who you associate with, your probation.
Okay, I thought I only had one charge.
You have a lot of involvements in history of people that commit crime.
Well, I'll give it the go.
You have a lot of involvements with people that have a history of committing crimes is a crazy thing to hear.
But all knowledge knockers on the off chance he's like sleeping.
How is that probable cause? How is that, like, now it's just guilt by association? I mean, this is the underlying basis of dragnets. I hope your security is good, poker, because I'm coming for you. It is pretty good. It's kind of crazy, though, to just, like, make a sock account on twitch.tv just to be like, hey, I'm going to come and kill you in your house. Ryan Smith. Guy who watches too much Fox News.
Or some shit.
Sheriff's office.
You need Rio?
Yep.
She's nice, I promise.
Hey, bro.
Just come and say hi to Rio.
Is he home?
Yeah, no, he's with his mom.
You need Rio?
Yeah.
Officer wanted to talk to you, Rio.
We're just here to say hi to Rio.
Hey, Rio, what's going on, buddy? Mind we chit-chat for a couple minutes?
Happy New Year.
2020.
Yeah, happy 2020. It's going to be a great year. But wait, because it gets even...
Yeah, the good news is I got flock cameras and law enforcement with all of the sufficient tools to defend me.
And dumber. Another time, the cops showed up and demanded to see Rio, and when his sister said he wasn't home because he was with his mom at her work, just watch as one deputy tried to bully his way into the house
Fox
anyway.
News? Wait, I'm confused. Just seeing if you read these. So why do you want to kill me then? This is a confusing process. So you're a guy who hates Fox News, but you want to kill me? What's up? You're like a liberal that wants to kill me? I'm actually fascinated. Please explain to me what your position is on why you want to murder me. Or do you just want to come over and suck my dick? Like, what's the situation here? What's the primary reason for why you want to kill me then? We rarely ever get a opportunity to hear from someone who issues a silly death threat. You got any answers? What are we doing? Quick, before you get site-wide banned. Oh, I think he already caught a ban. Bummer. God damn it. That's sad. Twitch should just let me delay those site-wide bans for like 5 minutes so I can get to hear from these fucking crazies, you know?
So, you can let us walk through right now and make sure he's not here and in compliance with his probation, or I can stroke both of you guys a citation for not having numbers on the house. What do you want to do?
What does that even mean? Numbers on the house?
You don't have an address on either the mailbox or this house.
Is that a blackmail? Yes, we do. We have our address on our mailbox right now. On the other side.
That is pathetic. Usually when you hear the words cops and blackmail, you think of high-stakes situations like infiltrating drug rings or corrupt gambling schemes, not let me see your teen or I'll fine your mailbox to hell. And look, obviously cops can be arseholes no matter what, but it definitely doesn't help to have a computer program telling them you should absolutely go be an arsehole to this particular person because we think they're a criminal just waiting to happen. And it's worth pointing out that a lot of the technologies you've seen tonight, like ShotSpotter and license plate readers, are disproportionately used in communities of colour. And cameras are often used in tandem with facial recognition software, which, as we have discussed before, tends to misidentify suspects far more often based on race. So there is already racial bias built into many of these technologies. And when you start feeding them into predictive policing, that only gets compounded. And it frankly says something that the place that started predictive policing, Santa Cruz, actually backed away from it a few years ago for exactly those reasons, as the police chief there explained.
The people who created it weren't inherently racist, but the effect of it can be racist.
Well.
And that's what we were concerned about. Because if you're putting police officers in a location where they're likely to engage people in a negative way, then that becomes the problem.
Right. And I know he's being very careful there, but luckily I can be a bit more blunt. The people who created predictive policing that incorporated racist police practices and data were probably inherently racist. A lot of people are, either knowingly or not. And the effect is definitely racist. It's just one of many uncomfortable truths we should probably all be more upfront about, along with death comes for all of us, people lie, and unfortunately, the goal of most dating reality shows isn't to find love, is to get enough Instagram followers so that you can get a couple of brand deals and maybe one day start a skincare company. It's just a regrettable fact. And those who push all these tools will insist that the technology isn't the problem here, it's how it gets used. Flock, which makes many of those ALPRs I showed you earlier, has been branching out into selling cameras and real-time crime centres to local departments. And here is how a segment on one of them dealt with citizens' concerns.
Those eyes in the sky and on the roads raise concerns over privacy. The ACLU has raised concerns with Flock's surveillance network, but Flock says it's all about how you use it.
As long as departments hire ethical people, write sound policy, and have oversight on those policies, then you can start to ensure that this is all used ethically.
OK, first, enough with the beard, we get it. But second, oh, it's that easy, is it? Just hire ethical people, write sound policy and have oversight and it will all be fine. My brother in Christ, have
you met local law enforcement departments before? Are you familiar with the inside of a police precinct? I mean, you're a cop, so I assume that you should know.
And this is a technical term looked around recently. Because as nice as that sounds, the fact is, departments don't necessarily do any of those things. There have now been many stories from around the country of police officers accused of using ALPR databases to stalk and harass women. As for oversight, well, Flock claims that every search request is logged for accountability purposes. When this man in Georgia tried to find out who'd accessed the cameras near his home, his city told him it would cost him $500,000 to fulfill his request, which is clearly crazy. Now, they did give him a much more limited data set, but interestingly, he still found enough troubling new information in that to then take it to a city council meeting.
I experienced predictive policing in SC. It was very creepy and made people use more drugs to compensate for what technically amounted to gang stalking. In addition, there was an organization called Take Back Santa Cruz, which was basically the mayor, the DA, and a bunch of local capital owners who were participating in the gang stalking. Yeah, that's probably not good for mental health when, like, the gang stalking is real.
The limited Flock audit records Dunwoody gave him.
Nobody from Flock Safety is accessing or monitoring your footage. Once again, I have evidence of Flock employees looking at parks, schools, playgrounds.
The audit logs also showed Flock executives watching private cameras inside the city's Jewish Community Center, which the mayor confirmed.
Members of the Flock sales team were using it as a demonstration.
OK, hold on, because there is just a cascading set of yikes there. First, you get the news that it's not just cops and security guards. Flock employees are watching these cameras too. Then you get to...
What's the problem? They're just checking out the playgrounds. That's normal. That's normal and good. Ben Jordan does great pieces on this, obviously, if you guys haven't seen. We watched some of it. But, yeah. Yeah, what's the what's wrong? They're just prospecting. Cool. Wait, did John already talk about the accessibility of these feeds, by the way? There are ways to use ALPR safely. It's just that decentralized data and one-off transactions aren't sexy to venture capital investors. They gonna document you young. I went to summer camp at this JC when I was a kid, by the way. This is fucking insane to hear. Nah, there's nothing wrong with that. Let's just let him surveil, man. It's fine. It's for your safety. It's for your safety. Don't you feel safe?
Schools, playgrounds, and a strolling list of cameras with labels like gymnastics and gymnastics side view. Then you learn the Jewish Community Centre, and finally that it was for a sales demonstration. What was even the pitch there? Ever wonder what your Jewish neighbours were up to but didn't feel like going over there to ask? Ever wonder what they look like doing yoga? Well, now you don't have to. Why knock when you can flock? And when a reporter asked a Flock spokesperson about that, it didn't go great.
Why didn't Flock find those vulnerabilities?
Why did it take a citizen? Sorry, go ahead.
We actually can't talk about the JCC by name, so we can talk about something else there.
Well, why can't you talk about the JCC?
Because we've worked with their team and we're not going to talk about that.
A Flock PR person stopped our interview twice when we tried to ask about Flock employees viewing cameras inside the Jewish Community Center.
Okay, that makes it even weirder. Like, wait, I'm sorry. Just answer the question, I think, right? Like, that makes it more suspicious? That's weird. That just like, yeah, we were doing a sales pitch to, I don't know who you would be selling to, what the Jews are up to. Guys that just wanted to know, just a group of people that wanted to know. Crowley response on data centers.
Did the people in those videos give permission to be part of the demo?
We're not going to answer questions about the JCC. Not answer, but any partnership goes.
I have to ask the question however you guys want to answer it. And you want to say you can't answer it, you can't answer it. That's fine. But I have to ask the question. I can't, it's not a PR video. This isn't like a promotional video. I mean, this is.
I think it's pretty clear it's not a PR video. We're good though.
Yeah, I'm not sure you're quite as good as you think you are there. And I know it is hard for you to deal with cameras that you don't control, but what did you think that news crew were going to do there? Leave that exchange out? News stations, when someone tries to stop an interview, all you've really done there is manage to look suspicious and to get them to break out the good subtitles. The fact is, it currently takes far too much pressure to expose what systems cities are using and how they are using them. In fact, remember how I mentioned that Rialto, California requires new businesses to hook their security cameras up to fuses? Well, 3 years ago, we filed a narrow public records request with their police department asking for emails in which fuses was discussed. They told us they didn't have any, which seemed implausible. So we filed a much broader request, and over the next 2 years, they sent us 28 pages, which still didn't seem like all the material they probably had. So last February, we said, fuck it, send us an export of your whole log database for fuses, showing us every time your officers peeked at a privately owned camera. And we asked for it as a searchable digital file, as the law requires. But instead, what they did was send us a 30,413-page PDF. To give you a sense of just how massive that is, if you printed it out, it is all of this shit right here, which was clearly pretty irritating because it's a huge amount of information that is impossible to look through quickly. Now, thankfully...
Oh, there's more. Hundreds of local police departments are preparing to deploy AI-driven surveillance drones capable of following a single vehicle across an entire city, capturing footage through apartment windows, and generally recording daily life without being noticed. Awesome. I love it. That seems great.
We managed to convert it into a searchable file, and in doing so, we found some things that it does feel the people of Rialto should probably know about. For instance, this is just all the times police there access cameras at fast food places. And you should know, some of those cameras are inside the restaurant in areas only employees can access. For instance, it seems they can check in on the grill at the local Wiener Schnitzel anytime they want. And if you work at the Chick-fil-A there, just know that on one Tuesday afternoon, Rialto had 5 of your interior cameras open for 2 hours straight. The front counter...
Again, the sci-fi dystopia is here, and we only get the worst elements. Like, none of the benefits. You know what I mean? No self-suck robots... Nothing like that. just the panopticon, drones, constant mass surveillance in the hands, accessible to all who want it. Just nightmare scenario. Same with China. We always, for years, we talked about how like, oh, Chinese surveillance is overboard. Chinese surveillance is crazy. China is doing mass surveillance. And it's like, okay, but they have the high-speed rail and the mass surveillance. We don't have the high-speed rail, just the mass surveillance. Yeah, we got shock gloves. ICE is using shock gloves now. Gloves to shock you as a taser embedded in it. We got mass surveillance all the time and no pussy too.
And pussy too.
I thought we would have gotten pussy too by now. No pussy too. Just more ways of hurting you and more ways of watching you all the time.
The drive-through register, the multi-purpose room, the manager station, and the office, which feels a little weird to me, as does the fact that they access cameras at the Rialto Days Inn for hundreds of hours, including the one facing the pool. And come on, getting secretly watched in your swimsuit is not supposed to be one of the perks of staying at a Days Inn. You are supposed to get a room that is fine, a bed that will do, and a front desk that occasionally has an employee behind it. That is the Days Inn promise. And I should say, the Rialto PD insists some of those hits are because they were watching a whole area and scooping up all the cameras, or that they'd left a set of cameras on in the background at their office. But that is just not as reassuring as I think they want it to sound. Look, it sure seems to me like these surveillance tools flaws than the people both selling and using them are comfortable admitting, because time and again, the pattern when they get rolled out is they get deployed in secret and then publicly presented in the most positive light, and only much later do we start to fully understand the damage they can do. Basically, the public conversation comes last, not first. And the good news is, due in part to the vast overreach of the current administration, we are now finally starting to have those conversations. Around the country, people are showing up to demand their cities and towns end contracts with companies.
Well, good thing we have a democratic process, so whenever people actually, rise up like this, governments are always famously responsive, especially our government.
Like Flock, including a man in Seattle who did so while dressed as an ALPR. And while I admire his commitment to the cause, he does look more like what would happen if a Pixar dad fucks the Pixar lamp, because I think we'd all agree this is what would happen there.
Bro, what if Scott Jennings becomes the new press secretary to avoid litigation? I don't think he's going to become press secretary. A Muslim Mississippi judge faces backlash over Muslim faith? Well, what the fuck is this?
A judge in a small town in the Delta is being scrutinized for her religious beliefs. The news has blown up on social media after she was appointed.
Please don't measure the progress of black people or America at large through the lens of interracial relationships. Please and thank you. Take a day off and fat door. This is a pro-miscegenation broadcast. You need to take your anti-miscegenation sentiment elsewhere. Yes, and Fantor famously is a black chatter who is for segregation. Bait avoided. We're moving on.
12 News political reporter Cameron Smith joins us. Cam, there's lots of noise circulating on social media. What can you tell us?
Yeah, Jeremy, that's right. Asma Ali is an immigration attorney and has a law firm in Ridgeland. Since the news came out, some political leaders don't appear to be pleased with the news that she's appointed as municipal court judge. I did speak with a law professor who outlines what the U.S. Constitution says about the town of Benoit's decision. The town of Benoit's new municipal court judge is sparking controversy online.
There's been a lot of backlash against her.
How is this? I'm sorry. Do people not have any shame whatsoever anymore, where they're just straight up like, no, you can't have a judge who's Muslim, man? Wow. That's incredibly racist, dude. And also outright illegal. like this is, you cannot do this.
Because some people don't think that Muslims should be judges.
According to
what the fuck, brother? That is incredible. That is wow. I mean, I don't know what to say. That's okay. That's interesting.
Asma Ali, she was appointed and sworn in as a municipal court judge. She posted the oath of office and meeting agenda on Facebook, saying in part, quote, "I was born in the United States, and as both an attorney and a judge, I am committed to upholding the United States Constitution and the laws of the state of Mississippi," end quote. We also asked Franklin Rosenblatt, he's an associate professor at Mississippi Christian University School of Law, what the Constitution says about her appointment.
In Article 6 of the Constitution, Clause 3, there's a provision that says there shall be no religion test for any.
Yeah, I don't think controversial take. I don't think Republicans care about the Constitution. Controversial take alert. Okay. I just don't think they care. Straight up.
Public office in the United States, period. It's an unambiguous rule.
The mayor of Benoit put out a statement this afternoon on her behalf and the Board of Aldermen. The statement reads in part, quote, "Being Muslim is not a lawful basis for denying or terminating the appointment. Based on such, she meets the qualifications to serve as a municipal court judge in the state of Mississippi and for the city of Benoit," end quote. The news has a few Republican leaders weighing in on the state Sharia law ban passed in 2015, which they say doesn't go far enough.
In 2015, Mississippi passed a bill that said there shall be no other law other than the U.S. law or Mississippi law. And when this bill was debated, it was commonly called by its proponents the anti-Sharia law, seen as a means to make sure that Sharia was not implemented in Mississippi. Sharia refers to the religious textual rules of Muhammad and his followers.
Mississippi State Senator Michael McClendon issued a statement on social media. He says he will introduce legislation called the Don't Sharia Mississippi Act during the 2027 legislative session to strengthen Mississippi's Sharia law ban. Part of the proposed legislation reads, "We shouldn't wait for Sharia law to become a bigger issue in Mississippi." But
that's the biggest issue in Mississippi. That's right. Yeah. Following the hadiths. That's incredible. God, we are getting dumber and dumber as a country, man. Holy shit. What do you do? What do you do with these hogs, man? What do you do? Yeah. I like that he said we shouldn't wait for it to become a bigger issue, implying that it's already an issue. Like, Sharia law is here in Mississippi already. I do declare. It's already an issue, but we can't allow it to become a larger issue than it already is. Educate them is what we do with these hogs. I just don't know if that's a possibility. I don't know if that's in the cards, man.
Before we act, we have the opportunity to get ahead of it, and that's exactly what this legislation will do, end quote.
They are saying that because of her religion, and without knowing anything else about her, they insist that she will implement Sharia law in her rulings. That should be very offensive to anyone. That's like saying because someone is a Catholic and goes into public office, that we should not accept them because we will assume they are taking their commands from the Vatican or from the Pope.
The town of Benoit's statement concludes by saying that they hope they can move forward for the citizens of the town.
Some breaking news now after a long and emotional night at McKinney City Hall.
City leaders gave the green light to plans for a new mosque, but not before hours of heated public comment.
Child marriage, honor killings. Don't tell me it can't happen here. Fear and prejudice have no place in public policy or in Texas.
McKinney City Council approves plan for mosque after divisive council meeting. God, this country, man. I mean, this is what you get after 25 years of Islamophobic propaganda, you know? This is the byproduct. We made people into psychopaths. We made them into fearful little monsters, like little tyrants who are terrified of their own shadows.
This is not the American way.
The chambers were packed, as well as the overflow room that they had available.
Natalie Haddad is in the newsroom with what happened. Good morning to you, Natalie.
Good morning. What was described as a procedural vote quickly became one of the most contentious city council meetings McKinney has seen in a really long time. While the vote focused on whether the proposed mosque met city development standards, the public comment period revealed deep divisions in the community. Yeah, more than 150 people signed up to speak during what city leaders called a procedural vote on whether the proposed mosque site plan met McKinney's development standards. The mosque would be built on a 5.5-acre plot along Virginia Parkway. Supporters and opponents packed the city council chambers, with crowds spilling into overflow rooms and the hallways of City Hall.
I mean, this is literally the legacy of segregation. Like, this is you know, it's a more modest version of what many of these little townships and cities did to black people over and over again. I suspect some of which still want to do it to black people as well. I mean, this is, you know, this is the legacy of the Klan. It's also kind of crazy because like this is also the other side of the equation of like the Islamophobia to anti-Semitism equation that I talk about all the time. Like there's no world where there's a Jewish judge and then they bring up a big fuss and then local news has to cover it, and then they go to like a local politician who's like, yeah, we can't let Talmudic law take over Mississippi. I mean, I'm sure some of them think that way. You know, make no mistake. I'm sure some of those guys in Mississippi probably also feel that way as well. It's just like there is the institutional permissibility of Islamophobia, and that does not exist for anti-Semitism. It shouldn't exist for either, right? It should not be permissible. And then back to back, we go into the other story where it's like, there's a proposed synagogue. What are they doing? What are they doing in the synagogue?
Speakers claimed the mosque would pose, quote, a serious threat to McKinney and America. Even former McKinney Mayor George Fuller was there. He served 8 years in office until earlier this summer. He spoke in support of the project. He was met with boos and called a traitor. Security even escorted him out after his remarks as a safety precaution.
Every religion and every culture have its extremists and radicals, and they should
Lion.
be condemned wherever they exist. But that is not who we're talking about tonight. We're talking about families who have spent decades serving this community and raising their children here.
My issue with this
That's crazy. That is insane.
mosque is not in it being a place of worship. It is that it may become a base where young men and women will
Yeah, this is where the Klan went. By the way, it never died or got prosecuted. Oh, I know.
be taught and trained to overthrow this great nation, a threat for which my forefathers fought with their own blood to build for the liberty of its citizens.
City council members said while they approved the site plot plan, the conversation, quote, is not over. Dia?
All right, Natalie, thank you for that.
The city of McKinney just gave a major approval for a proposed mosque last night. City council voted unanimously 7-0.
I cannot believe how this is news. It's insane. Are we dead ass? Yes, bro. Take a look at what America B is doing sometimes. It's good. It's good to like remember that this is also happening in the same country that we're a part of, you know? Yeah. My policy on it is data centers instead. Let's stop this mosque nonsense and put, instead of a place for Allah worship, how about we worship ChatGPT at the data center? I would like more data centers. That plot right there, you're going to put the Allah Akbar plot, you're going to use it for worshiping Allah when we should put one of those big black square boxes like the Kaaba that they have over there in Mecca, but instead, inside of it is more modems. Put a data center. Put a data center on that plot.
To approve a site plan for the McKinney Islamic Association's new mosque. This was a very contentious meeting, more than 5.5 hours of public comment right here at City Hall behind me. The vote didn't happen until around 11:30 at night after all that public comment ended. McKinney residents were largely split on the issue, with many residents being against the mosque and many residents for the mosque.
Ask any Muslim what the penalty is for leaving political Islam. It's death.
Dude, you're not Muslim. It's fine. This is my favorite. Like, this is a holdover from like early post 2001 Islamophobic propaganda. Okay. Why are you stressing, bro? Why are you stressing? You're not leaving Islam. Is that what you're stressing? You're worried? It's like, my faith has been tested. As you all know, I'm faithful to Allah, and yet my faith has been tested, and I'm thinking about leaving the light of Allah. I'm thinking about leaving Islam. It's true though. Yeah, no, totally. They're always, yes, dude. Yes. Muslim countries are constantly executing former Muslims. It's happening all the time. I love when I fear saying it to my mom. Oh, come on, dude. Please stop. How are you still alive? I live near McKinney. The crazy thing is that nearby Plano and Frisco, as well as McKinney, we've had large populations of Muslims for decades. Mosques are already around our neighborhoods. There's one down the road from me. I'm white. We all went to public schools together. They're acting like a mosque being built is something new. They're only afraid of getting taken over because that's what evangelicals do. Yeah. Wait, what? The campaign of Mary Peltola said it was focused on the issues important in Alaska and did not approve a message of support from Ms. Harris. Oh my God. Beast mode.
I have any number of videos of imams in America, modern day America.
Why do you have videos of imams in your phone? White people got comfortable again under Trump. These bitch-made cowards got the ahead to be racist from the president and are letting out all the resentment they've held on to since the civil rights era and made sure to pass down as much as they could. It's just like, it's just roach-like cowards feeling bold now that they have someone in power protecting them. Oh, for sure. For sure. It's funny you mention that because about an hour away in Oklahoma is Lake Murray. It was named after him because they thought he would block the building of the lake because of a synagogue in Ardmore, Oklahoma. They thought he'd ignore his bigotry for his ego. That's crazy.
Preaching sedition, open sedition against the U.S. Constitution.
Yes, every religion and every culture have its extremists and radicals, and they should be condemned wherever they exist. But that is not who we're talking about tonight. We're talking about families who have spent decades serving this community and raising their children here.
City Council told residents this vote was procedural, and they were just voting to make sure that the proposed site plan fits within the city's ordinances. The McKinney Islamic Association says it wants to build a prayer area, gym, cafeteria, and other rooms for various uses at this new mosque. City officials did say there are still other plans that have to be reviewed before the mosque can be built, but this was a major step in that approval process.
McKinney, Texas had a heated city council meeting where people spoke out against a proposed mosque.
Sharia law survive.
Man hilariously trolls city councilor Sharia-seeking Muslim. Oh, brother. Oh, God, this country, man. What are we going to fucking do about this goddamn country? Of course, Daily Wire loves it. Yeah, wondering how Ben Shapiro would react if they were doing this for the potential building of a synagogue and someone came in with like full like Orthodox Jewish garb and did like, you know, like in the same way that this guy's doing, I guess, like, you know, Muslim face or whatever you want to call it. If they were doing that, what would Ben Shapiro say? Oh, it's Daily. Wait, is this the Daily Caller? It's not the Daily Wire. My mistake. This is Tucker Carlson's joint, Daily Caller.
And I'm here to tell you, this is a dangerous ideology you're allowing in their country.
Of course, there were also liberals there to spout out trademark liberal catchphrases.
We are a nation of immigrants and diversity, which was one of the best things about America. The melting pot is not a weakness, it is our greatest strength.
And in the crowd was a man who calls himself Dr. Matt Rostami. But on that day, he looked a little bit different, and some in the crowd didn't seem to get the joke.
Salam alaikum. My name is Mahdi Rostamizadeh Derka Mohammed Hezbollah Nejad Hamas. And today, I am here to speak in favor of the mosque, because we need the mosque as a first step to add a new board, the Sharia board. Hold on, you haven't seen? You have not even? Like, do I get to reclaim my time or will they boo me? Okay, so the Sharia board will have new implemented Sharia law rules through the mosque. So number one, we will have dress code. So all women that are overweight and obese will have to wear burqa. Get your 10,000 steps a day, low carbs. You can figure it out. Number two, it also applies to the men. All men who are balding will have to wear turbans. Hold on, okay, I'm good. So yes, that rule will stand. And once we have implemented that, we will change the United States Constitution with this mosque. The first order we will do,
I think it's funny that he's it kind of feels like he's you know, trying to, I mean, it feels like he's trying to make fun of Islam for this audience, but the audience is so angry. The audience is too angry to actually appreciate the joke that he is tailoring for them. Conservatives, once again, like, this is comedy tailored for them. I inferred he was libbed up. I don't think he's doing that. I don't think he's actually libbed up. I think he's actually, you know, being Islamophobic and like making a joke at the expense of Muslims. But they're so racist that they're just like, boo, I don't even want to say that.
Well, first,
partially because he's also brown.
we will first add to the United States Constitution, we will ban alcohol. And we are going to add it right here. Wait a minute. 18th Amendment, what is this? Transportation intoxicating liquors, therefore export prohibited. Wait, you guys already banned the alcohol already? Okay, that's okay. Wait, it was repealed?
Thank you. Next speaker is Ahmadine Al-Turi. Next up is Edward Arnold.
In the end, the mosque was approved and it did not go over well.
McKinney now, there's a recall petition there that has been filed with the city naming the mayor and
I've been a McKinney resident for 20 years and have never been more ashamed at the behavior of some of its residents than what I see here tonight. The MIA is simply asking for what any church, synagogue, or temple in the city already.
No, he said he was there to mock Islamophobia. It just did not land. Yeah, I mean, partially because this is an unwinnable comedy skit because it's too crass for liberals and conservatives are too dumb to get the attempt at satire. Yeah. Yeah, so much so that Daily Caller thought it was hilarious, and those are conservatives because they thought he was actually mocking. They thought, like, conservatives, at least some conservatives, thought it was funny because they thought he was mocking Muslims.
He has the right to build a place of worship in compliance with our zoning laws and the Constitution of the United States. What we are seeing here is something else. We're seeing neighbors being told that their religion is incompatible with American values, despite the constitutional right to freedom of religion. We are seeing Islamophobic comments on social media. We are seeing a congressman using hate to con his voters into being afraid of their neighbors. This is about making people feel like they don't.
First attack ad against Penn Paxton.
This is Ken Paxton.
Oh, dude, I love this story. God, Ken Paxton has so many insane stories like this. This is just the fucking tip of the iceberg.
And this is Ken Paxton stealing son. But he also hasn't forgotten who took his.
Hi, I'm Joe Joplin, and I endorse James Tallarico for the United States Senate.
Vote.
Oh, God, Ken Paxton. What the fuck were the Republicans thinking, man? I genuinely feel like they're stress testing like how dumb Texans are. And honestly, I don't want to find out. I mean, we just watched the fucking, that was this region. This is Ken Paxton neighborhood, right? This is Ken Paxton town. The mosque issue is in what is this? The left is getting better at AI slop and is making the right nervous.
He earns $153,000 a year and owns 15 homes. Nobody knows how, especially not him.
How many of these can I claim as my primary residence?
His employees respect him so much, 8 of them personally called the FBI. He fired.
It's true. That is also true. God, he's so bad. Also, to be fair, this is AI slop ad, sure. But this unironically doesn't go the distance of what Republicans have been doing. Like, for example, when they... I'll never steal your pen. Nice. Okay, James. So here's what's crazy about this AI ad. Republicans go way harder. I mean, they put me in a fucking AI ad with like the Ayatollah. Like when Republicans do AI slop ads, they will just make James Tallarico do illegal shit. They'll just be like, James Tallarico's a pedophile. Here is him. Here's this AI ad that we made of James Tallarico with a child. Like they literally have no chill, okay? They have zero chill. Like Republicans do not have any standards on this stuff. Until we make it illegal, they're gonna probably get worse and worse over it. So I'm just saying, like...
4. It only cost Texas $6 million. He united Texas so well that Republicans and Democrats voted together.
Stop clapping, you fucking moron.
To impeach him. He once held a press conference about his scandals. He answered 0 questions and set his personal best in the 40-yard dash. His wife filed for divorce on biblical grounds, so he honored America's 250th birthday in London. the country we specifically left. A Texas town asked him if they could pause the data centers. 6 months and $450,000 later, he's still deciding. He is the most corrupt politician in the world.
I don't always need a lawyer, but when I do, even he votes for the other guy. Stay loyal, my friends. Dan?
Insane Ken Paxton ad with Tallarico AI. Yeah, see? Yeah. New Trump-aligned org citizens for... Dude, see, this is what I mean. Like, everything that this AI ad, everything that is featured in this AI ad is real, right? This is all real information. These are all things that Ken Paxton did. The only thing that you can look at, and I mean, they even made him look more normal looking. They just made him fatter, right? Like they actually couldn't, the AI ad couldn't get his ugliness down correctly. Here's how the Republicans did this months ago.
In white dresses with blue satin sashes, girls dust with hormones till they grow mustaches, changing the gender of all your offspring. These are a few of my favorite things.
What's crazy about this is like there are going to be Texans who think this is real. There are going to be probably tens of thousands of Texans that are like, I will never vote for that homosexual. I saw him wearing that dress and dancing. I promise you, bro, in Kentucky, they asked the fucking boomers why they didn't vote for Thomas Massie. And there were a decent chunk of boomers that said, I find it unfathomable that Thomas Massie was in an open relationship with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Ilhan Omar. Like a significant percentage of people that voted in the fucking primaries against Thomas Massie, their own congressperson, their own congress member for 14 fucking years. They voted against him because they thought he was in a relationship with AOC and Ilhan Omar. Do you understand how fucked we are? In this ad, okay, from the Trump-aligned org Citizens for Sanity that are dropping a 6-figure ad buy in the Texas Senate race for this 15-second clip of AI-generated James Tallarico singing a trans kid's rendition of Favorite Things. And they are going to sincerely believe that James Tallarico put on a dress and sang this song about transgendering your child. Yeah. I mean, here, Abdul, 4,000 puppies and kittens killed. Why they twinkified Tallarico? I don't think they twinkified him. No disrespect, but that's just kind of how he looks. This is why we need more data centers. I just want to put it out there. I'm pro data center in my backyard, data center in my neighborhood. That's what I need. That's what we need. I hate thinking about that Clinton's quote. Republicans must have tested it if they're going to use it. Yes. Oh, yeah. Now, there's the other side of this, of course. If they tested it and they're the best thing, it just means sometimes it means it's the only thing they have. So that doesn't necessarily mean it'll be successful. Unfortunately, in this case, though, I'm not exactly confident. I am not very confident that people will look at that and go, what the fuck is this insanity? There are a lot of people. Have you seen Kelly Loeffler looking very human?
Administrator, we have some questions for you here at TikTok.
What's going on, Mac?
First of all, are you in the cabinet?
Well, actually I am. After I had an incredible conversation with the president by phone.
What the fuck? She looks like one of the Mass Effect aliens with a long neck. Also, from Michigan trying to convert MAGA in-laws to Abdul. They're afraid of Sharia law. Is there anything I can do, or is the Islamophobia too much? It's never too much. No, you can always deal with that. Figure out what they're interested in. It could be data centers. It could be Medicare for all, and hammer on those points. It could be Israel. There's a lot of cross-party appeal with Abdul's platforms, Abdul's policy platform. I want to hear back from you, chatter. I want you to talk to your MAGA in-laws in Michigan. Try to understand what they care about. Ask them a couple things like, what do you think about data centers? What do you think about Israel and giving all of our tax dollars to Israel, stuff like that. And then explain to them what Abdul's positions are.
to become SBA administrator, he texted me and said, actually, you're going to be in the cabinet. That's a really big deal. And it is, because the SBA administrator.
Remember when this lady was running for office in Georgia and she had to like dress down? Like she had to dress up like a hick? That was really funny. That was awesome.
Isn't guaranteed a spot in the cabinet, but because President Trump knows that small business is big business, this is a cabinet spot now.
What's your favorite thing about being small business administrator?
Well, obviously being out with small businesses, whether I'm walking a factory floor with a small manufacturer or in a small family-owned generational restaurant, I can see the impact that the
What's wrong? I don't understand why is she Slender Woman?
SBA is having through the work that our team does every day.
Last question. How tall are you?
With or without heels?
Without.
Let's just say without heels, I'm 5'11" and a half.
Thank you for your time.
So eerie. What's an upcoming race you got your eyes on? Florida. Angie Nixon for Senate, Elijah Manley for Florida 20, and Oliver Larkin for Florida 25. He's digging in, Unc. Scott Jennings is using new clips now. Yes, he's getting fed the clips from RNC. This is the Salem media attack. Don't worry.
This week's pain.
America deserves
This week's pain. It brings me some pleasure to report to you that this week's pain belongs to the Democratic Party, and the pain comes in the name of the terminally online streamer called Hasan Piker.
Coming for you, Scott.
He is this wealthy socialist internet streamer who has spent years saying the most radical and offensive and politically toxic things imaginable. Hasan Piker has defended Hamas.
Hamas is 1,000 times better than the fascist settler.
Okay, see, these are truthful statements. It's not a defense of Hamas necessarily, but at least like he can add his seasoning onto it. But having said that, there's at least an element of the truth as opposed to the previous iteration.
Colonial apartheid state.
I stand by that. I'm a lesser evil voter, and therefore I would vote for Hamas over Israel every single time.
He has expressed sympathy for violent extremists.
Oh, you want to see a Houthi musical? Sure. These were the people that the Saudis were killing, by the way, just so you know. These musically gifted individuals. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. I need the money. Grab my food.
He says America deserves 9/11.
Get some mujahideen, a brave soldier, his eye hole with their. Isn't that how he lost his dumb eye? America deserved 9/11, dude. I'm saying it.
And he has built an online following by feeding young leftists a steady diet of anti-American poison.
Dude, I love this music. It's like, it's so terrifying. You got to watch out for this guy. Dog, if Hezbollah is a terrorist organization, America is the top terrorist organization, which it is, by the way. America is the top dog in terrorism, and so is Israel. We do terrorize quite a bit. The Crenshaw clip is genuinely your best work ever. Props. Mary Peltola has formally rejected Kamala's endorsement. Do you imagine what would censors do if some DSA candidate did this? Yes, I can imagine it. I can. They would assassinate that candidate. Yeah, my point is I want us to stop. I want us to stop terrorizing other countries. You don't know how badly I was here for the days where you said crazy shit like that. Wait, what do you mean? Like none of those. Okay, the Dan Crenshaw one is crazy for sure. But as far as like the other clips that they're talking about, like I am willing and able to explain my position on some of these clips, on all of these clips, as a matter of fact. It's not like I don't think I'm saying anything that is like, it's out of line and it's out of pocket and it's unexpected from someone running for office. It would never happen, right? And all people who are running for office has to say is like, I don't agree with them on that. Why the would I? However, notice how he's being a little bit more careful with his clips this time around. Interesting. Anyway, that one is, I don't think that one is as defamatory as the previous one. The previous one is a grade A exhibition of like how to smear and slander and defame someone. Fox said they are clipping you. Fox has said they're clipping you. No, I know. It's not Fox. It's the Republican Party. Fox is simply the media apparatus of the Republican Party. It's a propaganda apparatus of the Republican Party.
And tonight,
that's all it is. It's the RNC that's doing it. It's the Republican Party that is doing this. and they're going to continue doing
Let's
it.
talk
which
a little
is part
bit
of the
about
reason why I
wokeness.
want to sue at least some of the more like some of the very clear-cut defamatory statements to cut the winds from their sails a little bit. Yeah, it was the Republican Senate Majority PAC that got that clip compilation and posted it. And what's interesting about the Republican Senate Majority PAC is it's not like they watched all of my VODs from years and years ago. I wonder where they got it from. I know where they got it from. I'm not going to say it. I think we all know who's feeding them the clips, which ironically enough is the establishment media is far more sensitive to litigation. Yeah, exactly. No. That's like the big part of the reason. Jennings is on Salem. Jennings is at Salem, which is another major Christian network, right? Christian broadcaster. And Faulkner repeated that defamatory claim on Fox News. These major institutions, major corporations are far more sensitive to this kind of litigation. So I'm gonna pursue both of those avenues. They probably should not have just leaned into random people sending them clips without actually, checking to make sure that those clips are correct or accurate before running on a smear campaign like that.
Wokeness it has come for Scott Jennings. Scott Jennings, the #1 blue-haired wokester on the CNN panels, has a lot to say about Abdul El Sayed. Yeah, septum pierced. He has a lot to say about Abdul El Sayed and African Americans. Let's take a listen here.
On top of these candidates, in their own words, their surrogates are just as bad, even worse,
Surrogates.
actually. We continue today our exploration of the radical socialist streamer, Hasan Piker. Now, he's Abdul El Sayed's best friend, and he campaigns for him all the time. And African Americans out there, within the sound of my voice, need to listen up, and you must listen.
Yeah, dude, this part was also kind of funny. He's like, yeah, African Americans, you must listen up. Yeah, this guy's got, first of all, I mean, right off rip, it was just referring to black people as African Americans is a pretty clear-cut telltale sign. It's not as bad as saying blacks, right? Which is another thing that Republicans do all the time. But just like across the board, when a white guy says African Americans, you know exactly what's going on there. It's like, this is a person who is uncomfortable. Okay. Not exactly comfortable. It's not as bad. It's not as bad as blacks, which is like the worst of well, I mean, there's varying degrees of slurs, but check on second monitor. Oh yeah, I know. It's Stalkman and Anthony are trying to openly collaborate with Scott Jennings, who is literally slated to become Trump's press secretary, by the way. Liberals, guys. These guys present themselves as liberals, and they're openly collaborating with the guy who's in the running. Out of Kerry Lake, Spencer Pratt, Scott Jennings is one of the top three voices to be the next White House press secretary for the Trump administration. These guys claim to be liberals, by the way. And there are still fans in their communities that unironically believe that these guys are actually liberal voices. Okay? At some point, you got to give up on the grift, man. Just, we know what you are. We know what you're doing. Yeah, reposting Elon Musk's screeds about how I'm doing white genocide.
Carefully. This is who socialists like Abdul El Sayed choose to keep for company. Just listen to this. Hasan Piker in Cut 8.
I don't give a what black people care about. Oh, black people care about this. Black people care about that. Like, shut the up. That's not how politics works. Oh, well, Hasan, how dare you? Like it or not.
Like the amount your lib brain is fried. You don't want us to refer to black people as black, neither African American. What do you want us to refer to them as white? What? No, white people who think they're being woke and polite, or even like not so woke and polite white people, when they say African American instead of just saying black, are revealing that they're not very comfortable. There's a difference between referring to black people as black people versus referring to black people as blacks, right? Racist people oftentimes refer to black people as blacks. A little bit less racist people, but still kind of uncomfortable with black people type of people refer to black people as African Americans.
Black people care about this issue. It's like, it's such a stupid stance. Any other black folk want to engage in radical activist language in this chat? Suck my yes, dude. It's because I'm racist. That's why. It's because I'm racist, dude. Go back to a better time when lynchings were happening. This is what I like as a black man. Are you always doing too much with black people? Leave them alone. I want to go back to lynching. Like, I get it, but relax. Man, shut the up, okay? You got me, okay? You got me, because I'm a racist person.
You just heard campaigns all the time for Abdul El Sayed in Michigan. He campaigns for other Democrats around the country. Every black voter in this country needs to listen to this. And if you look at these Democratic primaries, black voters have been voting against the socialists, only to be overruled in many cases by young, privileged white commies. Might these black voters find a home in the Republican Party this fall? Well, if Democratic campaigns are adopting the Piker plan of returning our country to lynchings, that just might happen.
Okay. All right.
Can I start? Because I have a lot of thoughts on this.
Please.
I'm collecting myself.
As our resident wokester.
Yes. First of all, what Hasan was doing in those clips is technically anti-woke, right? It's dark woke. It's him making fun of people who are being ridiculous and policing things that he's said. Which is, if you paid any attention to Hasan Piker and you cared about presenting an accurate depiction of who he actually is, you would understand. Secondly, clipping people out of context is one of the most evil things that you can do on the internet, and also for your own cause, by the way. Like, if you really think that Hasan Piker is a racist, you should be able to find real clips of him actually being a racist instead of making fun of his opponents. And I really think some idiot at a Republican opposition research firm handed this to Scott Jennings on a silver platter. And because they haven't bothered to learn one or two things about what Hasan Piker actually does, they ran with it without checking it. And now Hasan Piker, as I'm sure you have this, Griffin, is in litigation for defamation because they were too stupid to actually do the legwork of figuring out what he really does on his show.
I don't think they're too stupid. I think they don't give a shit. They
Some
don't
of them
care. They don't care whether it's true or false. They have decided he's going to be a boogeyman. It doesn't matter whether there is a basis in reality or not. And so over tens of thousands of hours of content, they clip a few things that are completely misrepresent his views. Yeah. You think Hasan Piker wants black people to be lynched? That is fucking insane. And that is a monstrous thing to say about.
Yeah, that's like an absolutely insane accusation. Like, that is, I mean, it's so outside of the realm of truth. I don't know how to respond to it even. Yeah, it was either actual malice or reckless disregard for the truth, not stupidity. Yeah, no, it is. It is. Of course it's malicious. It's from the RNC.
Someone, especially someone whose entire politics are deeply committed to equality and to human rights and to anti-racism. To do that is so sick. I am really glad that Hasan is going after him.
Yeah, what's also wild about this conversation is, like, the first two clip compilations unironically come from someone who is right-wing, falsely claiming to speak for all black people and stating that all black people care about the border, like in defense of more aggressive immigration policies, especially at a time when we all know that the underlying motivation for the anti-immigration policies stems from white supremacist attitudes, right? It's white nativism through and through. As a matter of fact, this was happening right around the time when the Republican Party was aggressively claiming that Haitians were eating cats and dogs, right? Like, it was a ridiculous assertion that person was making. A ridiculous assertion.
Because this crosses a line beyond, like, good faith misinterpretation or, well, he did say that they deserve this goes way beyond that and is.
What is this? Can't help but notice this is an all-white panel. What are your thoughts on Brianna Joy's thoughts on the woke woman's crazy commentary? I feel like her and Erica really don't like your movement. I don't know how to feel about it. It's because this is a vague concept. It's because it's a vague concept and most people just don't understand it. That's it. That's all it is. That's why people are just like, I don't fully comprehend what you're saying. And instead of trying to tackle it sincerely, I'm just going to go ahead and claim that what you are saying, woke 1 versus woke 2, what you're saying is like, we should drop any kind of representational politics, any kind of investment that we have in equity, social justice, things of that nature. And that's not the point at all. That's never been my advocacy. What? The actual clip of you is responding to a black Republican talking about repealing the 3-strike rule. Yes. And then he says the DAs are what? No, I know what the actual
thoroughly
clip is. We already watched
disgusting.
it.
I don't care whether you love or hate Hasan Piker. Everyone, the way you did, Emily, should call it out. And, I don't think it's cute or funny. I think it's genuinely disgusting and monstrous and a fucking evil thing to do.
It's evil.
Don't you think the AOC and Zoran did that with their comments on defund, though? I talked about what Zoran was doing as far as like defund when he was running for office over and over again. He basically said, we're dropping the slogan, and then explain what the slogan actually is. And people liked it. Keeping the head counts the same. I've gone through this already. Lindsey Graham TTV is Friday Wins Gaming happening. I'm actually going to be ending the broadcast soon, as a matter of fact, after this video is over, because I have to film the film the pod.
Well, and the only thing I
Gaming
wanted to add
Sunday.
to that is that I spend a lot of time with people on the right. They genuinely don't understand Hasan Piker, and some of them is because they don't bother to, and some of them is because they're stupid, and some, you're right, Crystal, they just literally don't care. But they're going to care when they get a defamation lawsuit, and I think it's great that he's going after it, because he should.
Yeah, well, like Scarborough, when he did his whole like unhinged, spittle-laden rant against Hasan, is like, oh, I've never watched him. Then what are we doing here? And he also was lying and misrepresenting the comments that Hasan has made about October 7th in service of his, unhinged meltdown tirade.
They fundamentally don't understand streaming. They don't understand when people are on for 8 hours a day. They're going back and forth, being sarcastic with the people that are throwing questions at them. Anyway, yeah, I just co-sign the point that it's evil.
And Ryan, to you, I would ask, I've seen a lot of attacks on Hasan as he is connected to all these lefty progressive candidates. Clips like this are probably getting retweeted by like Neera Tanden and people like that. So is there some sort of crossover alliance happening between these Scott Jennings types and these more centrist establishment liberals?
There's some, for sure. Maybe like the Michael LaRosa guy and those sorts of folks are pushing it, if they still count as like even Democrats at this point. The question for whether or not it rises to defamation will be whether or not really it's an assertion of fact, or if it can count as this like over the top like hyperbole, because and if you're somebody who is always spouting over the top hyperbole, you interestingly, you kind of get more protection from courts.
Alex Jones used that defense. Yeah.
Right. Because people are like, oh, like,
but it didn't work.
He always says crazy stuff. Right. It did not work because he was making factual claims that were knowably false when it came to Sandy Hook. To me, Jennings is making a factual claim here.
He does at the end. He makes a factual claim about
he doesn't make an assertion. He doesn't speculate. He just straight up says it as though it is a matter of fact.
He's making a factual assertion that is factually untrue, and it is demonstrably untrue. And Jennings either knows or with a tiny bit of diligence would have known that it was untrue, which makes it malicious, which is the standard for defamation. I hate defamation cases. Because people overuse them to restrict people's ability to have speech, debate, and argue.
Right.
But there also needs to be some check on lying about.
Look, people have lied about me for a decade, right? Neo-Nazis on the internet, people who claim to be liberals but align with neo-Nazis on the internet. But there's a different, like, I've been pretty open. right? I have openly refused to pursue litigation in almost all of these. This crosses a line. This crosses an unbelievable boundary because it's such a fucking clear cut. Like saying that I support racialized lynchings is such an insane statement to make, that especially when paired up with the fact that this is coming from a major right-wing broadcaster, Salem. It's also been highlighted by Fox News. Harris Faulkner talked about it. She also made this claim as well. And not only that, but also the fact that it's actually circulating, or it's originating from the RNC, the Republican Senate campaign. Like the Republican Party's midterm strategy is directly connected to this. I think it's certainly a bridge too far. I have to do something about it.
On affirmatively lying about people in such a dangerous way. If you don't like what he says, like criticize what he says, but don't fabricate things that he never said, and then condemn him for that in a way that then gets circulated and is like genuinely dangerous and also just corrosive of like the idea of public debate. So yeah, I hope he does go forward with this, and Jennings has to like think about like and people in the future have to say, because we're in this space, and Hasan has made this point that we have two standards for what's allowable in conversation. If you are supportive of Israel in general, you can say whatever you want about people who are critics of Israel. Doesn't have to be true, can be completely blatantly false. And that is the norm that is allowed within our current media structure. That's changing. And as it changes, like this could be one of the things that forces a change where people like Scott Jennings, who is literally working for a radio station, radio network, whose chief strategy officer, Brad Parscale, is a registered agent for the Israeli government.
Yeah. Like, and has gotten specifically for this $50 million. $50 million just for Salem and just for training AI, training websites that are specifically designed to make AI more pro-Israel.
That's the program he was on is under the guidance of an Israeli agent. And if those folks have to check themselves a little bit and think, oh, wait, I actually have to pay attention to what I'm saying here, and it has to have some basis in fact or truth, then I think that's a good thing. And we have to get to that place. There's this world where one side can just lie all the time and the other side says true things and gets raked over the coals for it is unsustainable.
Well, but I just want to say on that point, this is why Griffin's opening joke about woke Scott Jennings is a really good one, because Scott Jennings would have complained for years about people on college campuses, like professors on college campuses, people with some legitimate power, saying whatever the hell they want to say about accusing others of racism or whatever it is. And that's a really serious accusation. And the reason then he's like flipping around and doing the exact same thing, and in a way that is so cynical. It's just like completely undermines any credibility that anyone ever wanted to have. If he wants to be a critic of the corporate media, this undermines your credibility. Say that no Americans trust media, this undermines your credibility. Like, how can you say that again? And that's again why it's also important for people on the right to understand what Hasan Piker does, which is reject a lot of the woke pieties that were foisted by, in some cases, the Hillary Clintons of the world onto the left. And so if you want to make an argument against Hasan Piker, you sure as hell better understand what he's actually doing, which was rejecting, in many cases, political correctness from those very clips that he showed as some example of him calling.
Yeah, this is why I get mad about the woke 1, woke 2.0 dynamic, because I've never been the type of person that cares about like someone saying, all black people care about insert right-wing reactionary thought, right? And yeah, I'm vulgar and I'm blunt. And I think a lot of people, when they hear that, especially from this package, they think, okay, white guys being really fucking racist to black people. But that's, I guess, part of the reason why I get very, really That's why I'm the warrior of, I guess, quote unquote woke 2.0, because that is literally the weaponization of identity to justify two ideas. Number one, black people are monolithic, and two, black people believe as a monolithic force very right-wing, very reactionary things, when that's not the case at all. And if you, of course, scour through the quotes on the Snopes.com article, you very quickly find out I'm actually addressing all of those other things as well, but they clip it to completely reduce its context to me just going, I don't care about black people, right? If you keep talking about this issue, you're going to cook your legal case just like Ethan cooked his by talking about it. Wait, what? No.
For lynchings, like, it is just based on a willful misunderstanding. In some cases, Crystal, I think you're totally correct. It is cynical. They don't care. But again, a defamation lawsuit does make you, to Ryan's point, have to think about it and exert a modicum of care.
Yeah. Girls who think this is great, or they're going to quietly be happy about it because they want to make Hasan a boogeyman just as much as the right does, if not more, because it's more directly existential to them right now in their grip on the party. Like, if you think the right views you any differently, you are so delusional. They think you're all communists. They think you're all socialists. They think you're all, most importantly, obstacles to their own power. They will not hesitate to use these very same disgusting, shameful tactics against you. So get it together. Let's focus, people. Let's focus on what is, more important here. And, and again, this shouldn't be a left-right thing, because this could literally be done to absolutely everyone, which is why I've defended many people that I vociferously disagree with when they have been smeared or canceled and things have been done to them that I thought were, unfair and unjust.
Well, speaking of people who are focused, Jill Biden's ex-staffer, Michael LaRosa, former guest on this program, is continuing the tirade against AES and seems tangentially also related to Hasan. Let's take a listen to him on Fox News.
I want the Democrats to win. I think they're going to win the Senate. I think they're going to win the House. I want Chuck Schumer and Brian Schatz to be the next majority leaders. I want to do it without, and that can be done. But this isn't what I signed up for. Totenkopf and SS and defending it, and then defending Hasan Piker is just not the leader of my.
I love that. I love that he goes Grand Platinum, Totenkopf, SS, acting as though Abdul defended that. He didn't, and then he just sneaks me into the conversation like me. My situation is the same as like having a Totenkopf tattoo. What a psychotic thing to say.
Party. And it's okay for Democrats to say that. My old boss, Chris Matthews, was on TV this morning saying Democrats just need to do the hard part for politicians, which is sometimes standing up to your friends.
Wow. Okay. A few
I like
things
how it
here
says now solar eclipse in Europe on the screen.
Quite an eclipse. Don't look directly at LaRosa. You need some
snippet from the Estate interview. After my experience hands-on with some of these campaigns all around the country, I have begun to realize something. A big part of the reason why the Democrats never have a bold vision or an agenda is because they have the easiest time hitting the electability argument in the primary and then the harm reduction argument in the general. And that's the reason why Chuck Schumer's popularity is in the gutter. That's the reason why Hakeem Jeffries is not nationally popular either. And that's because people wanted more. People wanted the Democrats to fight back. They wanted Democrats to represent them, and they lost confidence in the party.
I want to untangle what you just said. Like, what the argument you're making is, and I think it's a true one, honestly, is that in the primaries, it's about the scary left and how unelectable they are. And then the general, it's, hey, we're better than these Republicans. And at no point to your argument is that really an argument for what they will provide people. At no point is that an argument that centers voters and their concerns, that there is a struggle independently for the moderate establishment lane to speak to the reasons of why Trumpism exists in the first place.
Yeah, and they have no answer for this, and yet we've had an answer for this even before Trumpism became a thing. And that's my argument. We've had the same exact answer since the 90s. We've had the same exact answer since the ironic third-way neoliberal pivot under Bill Clinton, welfare reform, NAFTA. Trumpism in some respects, even down to the white nativist anti-immigrant agenda, is hearkening back to like the 90s Democratic Party. Anyway, all right, I gotta go. When was this interview? Earlier this week. I'm wearing the same suit that I wore the day of. This was before I went live that day. That's all I got for today, though, folks. Only 6 hours. Apologies for that. And I gotta go. I have to go. I'll be back tomorrow, and we'll have some more fun.